Hey, hello everybody. We are here today with the lovely Angel.
Hello, Karen. How you doing?
I am doing okay, thanks. But we're back together talking today because Angel's. Well, I don't know if have you just seen this video, Angel, or is it something that you've seen before and just added it?
I stumbled across this video 2, 3, 4 days ago. It's been out for 10 months. I've been a fan of. I'll get into that, I guess, after you go through your housekeeping stuff. But I just stumbled across it.
Yeah.
Recently.
So basically, what's going to happen is Angel likes some of the experiments on here. So in a minute, we're just going to play those, and Angel's going to talk. Yeah.
It sounds good. Well, what I was.
So what makes, just before we put it on, what makes you like this guy then?
Well, I was going to start as a child. I've always been a fan of certain things. Luckily, I grew up in New Jersey, so I was right near Edison's actual museum, actual laboratory, the Black Mariah, the whole 9 yards. So I actually, as a elementary school student, went on a tour of the Edison Museum. And if you look back, you don't have to. This is a fact. If you look back in the 1970s, they had to close the Edison Museum for about 4 months, 3, 4, 5 months, while they searched it for chemicals and explosives, because some young student said, hey, when they said these are the exact beakers and chemicals and stuff that Edison had, no one's touched them in blah, blah, blah years. And some young student said, so you're telling me some of that stuff up there is like sitting in a jar for 100 years, and turpentine sitting there, these are all explosive chemicals that you haven't changed out with like colored beakers of water. After that particular trip, they closed the Edison Museum for 4 months while they researched my question.
Really? Oh my God, that's amazing. See, you're not actually a lecturer then, are you? You are some kind of professor yourself.
Well, I'm a troublemaker, I guess. But
you're not a troublemaker. I love you, Angel.
Well, you don't know me that well. Other than going to the Edison Museum, and
what does that mean?
Also,
oh my God! Anyway, carry on.
There's one in Philadelphia. The what is that one called? The one in Philadelphia is the Franklin Museum, where they have a train engine and an airplane and a couple of other things, and you walk through a beating heart, and these are all displays to allow children to actually see and visualize at the time science experiments. You know, the thing with the bouncing wooden ball on the metal plate, and it bounces for like half an hour before it falls back in, the quarter that goes around the thing, and all the science experiments, the Van de Graaff generators, all the stuff that I really like the one in Philadelphia has 3 colored lights, and you can sit them and merge the lights and see the difference. And these are all ways of children being able to see realities of science. Now, I've always really liked electricity. I've also been to the one in San Francisco, though I wouldn't go there now because I hear it's a mess. The Exploratorium, and these are things that always, Discovery Zone that's in Southern California. These are things that have always been on my heart. And when I saw this guy took it to the next level. And the nice thing about this is he's doing experiments using the tools that Tesla himself was using, 100 and some years ago. And during the lecture, he says, this is the exact thing that Tesla gave in this very room right here. So I thought this is like the cream of the crop of Mr. Wizard science projects. And notice I didn't use the word Bill Lion guy, but either way, my days was Mr. Wizard. He lied a lot less, to my knowledge. I don't know if you know Mr. Wizard, but he was a Bill Lie before Bill Lie was Bill Lie.
Well, okay. Should we put this video on then for you to? If I hold the camera, I'm going to hold the camera up. I'm going to put that back on there because that's where I speak. That's where I have it. So it should be loud enough. So we're going to put this video on, and you're going to talk.
You guys can follow along if you open up another window In fact, I'm going to put a link. I'm going to put a link at highvoltage.greatgizapyramid.com just so anyone can go there and find this. Now, this, while she's playing it, go ahead and start playing. I can just talk.
Okay, there we go. So now, what has he got then? He's got tin foil and...
Well, he's got, it is some sort of a foil or mylar. I don't know the exact substance. He may mention it in the video. And he's got I think it's a plastic tube that he has charged up, and they're basically using the repelling properties of static electricity to keep this
thing in the air.
This UFO flying in the air. And it's just showing, like you were saying, you could rub a balloon on your head, and you could do the same thing with little fragments of paper. I mean, there's all sorts of little things.
Oh, it says that's plastic they've got there then. It's not tin foil, that bit. That bit's plastic.
Plastic or mylar or something like that. Did they mention it's plastic in the video? I didn't. But they probably, this guy is very good about mentioning all the different things. Like he'll say, they used a piece of cotton cloth, however, we're using Teflon because it has more properties and blah, blah, blah. So he's telling you verbatim how to recreate the experiment if you wanted to do it in your home to prove it to yourself. Because I don't know if you want me to touch on this, but just like certain things in the world, I didn't believe it until I took a telescope and went to the beach and discovered things on my own. And because at first I was very doubtful, but this lets you experiment. And they get to the point, and he explains it, the whole step up of how they went through the evolution of energy and power, and they go from low voltage.
Hang on a second, it's just stopped. 1 second, we'll just stop it just for a second because it's going round and round. Hang on. There you go.
For a little, we can take a quick 2-minute break.
Well, I've gone now. We'll stop in a minute after this one, and then you can have your little break. What's that then? What are those things?
Now, he's right there holding in his hand a model of what they refer to as the elements. And it's supposed to be that big thing in the middle, supposed to be the nucleus, and the little pink things are supposed to be the electrons. And he's explaining when you brush things against each other that the electron is knocked off when you're rubbing things because of the properties of the two elements, or the two compounds using the glass rod or the plastic rod and the cotton cloth, or the whatever cloth you're using. And he's explaining the elements in a visual format of what it's doing, basically knocking off a little electron, which changes the polarity, and if you knock enough of them off, it changes the polarity overall. Now, in a bit here, you can probably skip forward every now and then a few seconds. His whole thing is like an hour. I don't know if you want to take all that much
1
time.
second, we'll just stop for 1 second then. Hang on.
You live?
Yeah, we're live now. So he's with his little wand.
All right, what he's demonstrating there, he has a toy that I believe they used to call them Leyden jars back in the days. When Leyden jars held static electricity, didn't they? So it wasn't a Leyden jar. It was they had a thing. I'm sure you've seen in science classes where you put 2 pieces of aluminum foil in there, and when you give it a charge, they repel, and how far they repel tells you. Of course, I'm giving a visual thing, but no one can see me.
He's just showing that one of them's positive and one of them's negative.
Right. Well, I'm. The video may be playing, but I was trying to explain what that little jar on the table is. It is basically something that represents or shows whether the charge he's playing with is static, or is positive or negative. Now, one thing that is important, and he kind of brushes against it, but he doesn't say it, is positive and negative in respect to the other thing. So you can have a balloon that you rub on your head, and your person next to you can rub a balloon on their head. And when you hold those 2 balloons together, one of them has more charge, actually, a different polarity than the other one. You can have a more of a whatever polarity, but you have a different polarity than the other one. So one of them is negative and positive in respect to each other. Now, if you get a third person to rub their head, they can come over, and that one that was positive now may be negative in respect to the next person, because the next is slightly different energy state of a charge. So positive and negative is in respect to the thing you're measuring it, not in respect to a benign nothingness, which is one of the things which is difficult to understand, but is relevant when we talk about my favorite structures. Because
What's
on
that?
any given day,
What's that, Angel?
the Giza pyramids.
Yes, of course.
On any given day when the wind blows, that charge is going to be different one day than the next. In respect to the structure next to it, it's either going to be more or less, and that's what the external parts of the structures are designed to manipulate. Now, what really shows me on this is he's demonstrating static electricity, and he's doing it in a form which is recreatable and repeatable, which tells you it's not just a spoof, it's a fact of life. And that's what a lot of people, when you pull your laundry out of the dryer and you get that static spark, that happens once in a while. You can't always do it. There'll be a day you do your laundry, you pull it out, you don't get the static spark. That's because you don't have a perfectly controlled environment. In this situation, he's having a perfectly controlled environment. In fact, there's once or twice he'll rub the rod and it doesn't give him the signal, so he has to rub it again, or he has to do it again, because sometimes nature shorts in ways that you can't control, which is why as the experiment goes on, he's always careful. There's a spot once or twice he'll touch and say, oh, I messed up, and he has to start all over again, because it's like playing with cups of water. If you spill one, you got to start all over again. But I guess what I was most focusing on is, I don't know, you say you speak with Jeff Drum once in a while, right? Durham? The other Giza guy that I like?
I don't talk to him. I only talk to you. Brian's the other one I spoke to, Brian Forrester. But
Oh, what? Okay. I thought you had spoken to Jeff when I texted him. He's like, oh, we like you. So
well, no, I love you anyway, Angel, but I don't speak. You're the only one. You're the only one.
Well, there's another gentleman which I really, really respect. His name is Jeff. I think it's Jeff Durham. He does the Land of Chem. And
we've talked about that, but
we've talked about him,
but I still favour you.
Right. Well, when you said you favor me, I thought you had spoken with him and you
favored me. No,
just
because I showed you his video, remember? I just showed you his video, bit of his video, because he was being mentioned. But when they mentioned him, the girl in the video, I had to mention you.
Well, I thank you. Now, what I like about him is he's taking his camera and he's doing what I like to call pure research. He's just out there with his camera on the plateau, video recording things. Now, he does verbally have an agenda when he's talking about things sometimes, because he has his own mindset of what he thinks the structure does. But the fact is that he's documenting things so well. And just like a couple of weeks ago, he did a site survey where he was surveying an area that I had never been able to get to with the little Google guy, dropping my little Google guy. There are I'm going to call them separation pools right to the west side of the primary Giza, the Great Giza Pyramid. And what I'll do is, while you still have that playing, right, I'm going to once in a while go over and I'm going to see if I can't find his video so we can watch his afterwards. What are you watching? You're watching them play with the
he's got
the styrofoam cups.
Yeah, he's got
right,
the styrofoam
plate.
Yeah.
Now, what I'll tell you what he's doing right there is he's demonstrating how a Van de Graaff generator works. You charge something, and then you put it to the what has the capacity to hold that charge, and you keep doing that until you raise the capacity of the other thing. He's kind of explaining how, as time went up, they started stepping electricity to get more and more and more, and they eventually they whip out a Tesla coil when which is the ultimate way to amp up the electricity, hence the way it was given the name Tesla coil. Because
can I just say something? I know that maybe this has been going on for a really long time, if, say, Tesla's real, because I'm not sure anymore whether he's just another one of those people they've put in to cover up history. But if they were using all this, I'm sorry, they've got to be fairly clever, because we don't use all this. We use wires and cables. We make the electricity,
Yes.
see? We make the electricity now.
We brute force it, where static electricity exists in nature. You don't have to brute force it; it's there. Like Tesla said,
I know, but you think those people would have to have found it? They would have to have found it and used it and modified it and learnt from it and put it on buildings. They were clever people, weren't they?
They don't have to necessarily learn from it, but people have found it. I guarantee you that there were people using their pitchfork, throwing hay, generating static electricity, that when they, people would put the pitchfork down, they'd get a static charge, and they had to be careful of that, because when you're throwing hay, you get that hay dust, and you get a static electric charge, you get a hay dust fire, and you've had hay silos blow up because of this stuff.
What I'm trying to say is, for them to actually put it onto buildings, they must have experimented a little bit. It must have taken a bit of time where they got it to go onto, get buildings to enhance the free energy. So I'm just saying...
Are we talking people of the way past, or people like in the 1800s,
well, I suppose
when you say past?
Some people might say it's what we call Tartaria, those people before this lot.
Okay. All right, I'll go with that scenario, but I'm also saying people in the 1800s, 1700s, 1500s, they came across static electricity, but they saw it as a nuisance, not
really?
a benefit. Here in the United States, we grounded, when we put our television antennas on the roof and ran that wire down to our television, that was an isolated circuit, and over time, the wind blowing back and forth on that television antenna would build up static within the system, and you'd get static on your TV. To alleviate that, you'd run a wire down to ground to let that static electricity out of the system and ground itself. Now, this is
just letting you know that in this he's got water now, and he's showing you, he's turning the lights off.
He's showing the Lord Kelvin drop.
Yes, that's what I was just going to say. Yeah.
That we went over like a month ago, or maybe two, and he's actually using one that I believe the Lord Kelvin, the guy who initially made it, made. So he's actually playing with the exact toys that the exact scientists built, and it was named after them. So he's playing with toys of history here. But either way, we've played with the Lord Kelvin Drip Journal, which I will tell you, I believe is also part of all these science experiments. All these repeatable, recreatable science experiments are all within the Great Giza Pyramid and utilized within the Great Beat. And there, I don't know where you are, but if you're at about 18 and a half minutes, they have one of the machines I was talking about with the piece of aluminum
Wait a minute,
foil.
let me just see what time we are on. We're on 17 minutes 40, so should we just keep talking?
Yeah, it'll be there. At 18 minutes, I guess I'm a tiny ahead of you. I'm going to pause. At 18 minutes, they focus on a wooden box where you see two little...
Oh, yes, I can see that. Yes, on the right-hand side there. Yes, we've got that.
Right. That is a visual demonstration that you can see the results of, or the stimulus that static electricity can play. Because you can't see static electricity. You can only see how it manipulates the environment around it.
Right.
Get that?
Yeah.
So, and people have to be able to see how static electricity manipulates things, honestly, in order to understand the overall aspect of what the Great Giza Pyramids are doing. But if you're unfamiliar with what static electricity has the ability, power to do, and you're unfamiliar with how and in fact, when he was playing with the cups and transferring power, he shorted it to the ground once or twice. The whole reason why the Great Giza Pyramid has the rings around it at certain elevations and has the division in the stepping is to isolate the static electricity to the top of it. They need to put basically a resistor or a resistance factor to keep the static electricity quarantined to the upper surface of it. That is what these great structures were engineered to do. But if people aren't familiar with static electricity, and like I was saying, back in the 1800s, 1500s, people came across it. It was a nuisance. Using a pitchfork and building up static electricity and touching it to something and having your barn blow up, that was a nuisance. People on boats, when they had metal rudders, when they got into that, they had to be careful when they got to the dock and they touched it. People with helicopters, you notice when a chopper comes to a boat, they will drop a rope first. They don't do that just because they're going to climb down it. In fact, they don't always climb down it. They do that because they need to equalize the ambient static electricity on the chopper with the ambient static electricity on the boat. Otherwise, when they get closer, there's going to be a spark, and that will sometimes actually damage either the chopper or the boat.
I didn't know that. Well, there you go. We can't live without this stuff then. It's there. Can't get away from it. It's
there, but we see it as a nuisance often. Okay, it's seen as a nuisance, but it doesn't have to be a nuisance if it's controlled. But it's there, it's in our face, and we often kind of dismiss it. That's what I'm saying. We see it as a nuisance rather than something to be collected.
But that's because we do things differently today. Like if we were in those days, would it be a nuisance? Because we'd be using it. But today we use
those days,
everything.
I believe they were using it.
Yeah, everything is through wires and cables now, isn't it?
Well, that's because you have more control of it in wires and cables. And I think the way they were using the conduits of liquid, which I still think is just plain water, they were using the conduits as wires and the channels drilled under the plateau as the shielding for the wire.
Right, he's now got this machine with a thing in it, a wooden box with the things going round in it.
That is a Wimshurst generator.
All right.
That is I may or may not have touched on you on that. The ones that I like are normally a big piece of clear. It's easier to see on the Wimshurst generator. And then after they show the Wimshurst generator, he's going to pull out a big table of plates and explains how the Wimshurst generator works.
What he's just said it. Most people think it's spinning, but it's friction.
Yes.
That's what he's just said.
Well, most people think it's friction, but it's he uses a different word. Either way, are you familiar with Joe Rogan? He's got the biggest podcast or whatever. You've heard of him?
Yeah.
One thing that Joe Rogan actually recently said, I got to remember what it was again, because now it just lost my mind when I was saying that, is, damn it.
Sorry, I said,
I'll come back to it.
Sorry.
I'll come back. So we'll come back to Joe Rogan, what he said, because I think one of the things he said is important. I just can't remember what it was now. But he demonstrates here how the Wimshurst machine done. And I think when people can visually see it, and he's doing it with these cups, because with the cups he can show.
Can I ask you something? You think that all that was in the pyramid?
Well, not in the same way, but the manipulation of static electricity. What he's explaining here is the manipulation of static electricity. And static electricity is around us all the time. Even electricity that we use is technically kind of still static. It's all magnetism, technically. It's all magnetism. Like that guy with all the piercings on, or the things on his hand says. It's all magnetism. We call it electricity, but it's really the separating of the magnetism, and the magnetism wanting to get back to its equilibrium. And we utilize that, the magnetism wanting to get back to its equilibrium.
Can I say something? Don't you think it's really incredible that we live in this environment with all that happening and we're okay? I suppose we're earthed, aren't we, because our feet are on the ground.
Yes, and if you walk up to an electrical socket and you hold a nice piece of wire and shove it in there, you will be sorry, because you will short to ground. The whole reason we have it in wires with conduits and things like that is to keep it controlled. Something a lot of people say is electricity. I could say electricity is like fire. It's a fierce master and a humble servant. Electricity, you can get it to do work for you. But if you are not careful with it, if you take your hair dryer in the bathtub and, things like that. You will be sorry, because it will go where it wants to go. I think we looked at power stations in the past where the arc is coming up and you get like 6, 8 foot, 10 foot bolts of electricity. Electricity will go where it wants to go. You're not going to stop it. But kind of like how you have water in a dam, you can control it, but as soon as it springs a leak, you're done for. It will find a way. Electricity will find a way. And the whole reason the structures are quarantined in the middle of nowhere and they're so far apart and all this stuff is because they need to keep the electricity separated, but still utilize it. And like I said, making a model, a working model, either in silico or in
you
physical
say
form.
that those pyramids were a machine. Now the circle of cups are going round and round a little bit, but it's because he's holding that. Well, he's pushing them round, but they will go round and round because he's got the cup and the thing there. And it's stopped again now.
Right. If people actually listen to what he's saying, he's explaining how the charges are working together to amp up the other charge until it brings itself to a point where it will eventually jump the spark gap.
These bits can disintegrate over time, aren't they? If it's just wood or other things they're using, they could, and so you won't have associated the machine.
I'm not saying. I don't want you to mentally think that there was one of these machines in the pyramid. There wasn't. I'm saying, watching this, you understand how electricity can be quarantined, worked, and manipulated. I believe the same way this Wimhurst machine is using little plates, and the same way that the thing that he was using with cups and styrofoam and as an insulator, the Great Giza Pyramid was using droplets of water. The droplets of water would house the static electricity on it, and the droplets of water, or the water vapor, would be manipulated through the system until the droplets of water would eventually condensate. And as the surface area was eliminated, the static electricity has to go somewhere. It will build up to a point where it reaches its saturation point, and then nature will make it go somewhere. And that going somewhere, that doing something, is the energy that they were utilizing. So when Chris Dunn says it was an energy factory, in many ways he's right, but I'm not so sure the energy wasn't used locally on site, not necessarily transmitted to people so they could have radio and their iPods playing. It may have been used on site to do something, kind of like, I don't know if you watch Jeff or listen to him, he suggests that they were doing things that we today still kind of dream of. We talked about how that one that he talks about is a big, huge compost tile. Now, if he would just call it a compost pile, if he would just look at what composting is, he would say that structure there was doing composting on a commercial level scale.
Yeah, carry on.
What I was getting at is, you're watching right here where they're using static electricity and making the static electricity kind of, when you focus things at a point, it'll kind of shoot like a laser, but he explains that at other points in here. But the static electricity will run down the barrel of that gun and actually go through the air and neutralize itself. So, in essence, he's shooting the birds. He's shooting them with static electricity. This is how you can demonstrate how static electricity can be manipulated, even to play parlor trick games.
Wow,
it can still
you
be
mean they use guns for electricity?
No, it could be a fishing rod that the person is holding.
Okay.
The fact that it's a gun it has to just be a pointy metal object. It could be a magic wand.
Right,
it can be, in fact, there's possibilities that some of the magicianal people out there in the past were actually using static electricity, because the magic wand, if something is doing something, you point at it with static electricity, you can get it to manipulate it. That little duck hunt game there demonstrates that. So, I think magicians of times and past knew certain parlor tricks that, That's what Joe Rogan said. He said if you went to somebody in the 1500s, 1400s, you went to somebody in the 1800s with a garage door remote opener, and you had your garage door, you pointed at it with your thing and hit the button and the garage door opened, people wouldn't say, oh my God, you're great, you're the king. They'd say, off with your head, you're a witch.
Right.
So you have to be careful when you learn something and you have a little parlor trick, who you expose it to, because some people will think you're a witch. Other people will think you're a god. Now,
Mind you, is that what they've told us, though? Do we know that for sure? Is that just what they've told us?
I don't. I can't tell you what people told you because I wasn't there.
Because they're covering up the fact that they had it. They don't want us to realise they were that advanced.
I know they've had it.
Yeah.
There are many different things. I will tell you again to this day, and I'll swear it on a Bible. I believe until about the 1500s, holy water was colloidal silver. And when Pope Gregory did his stuff, they decided that they really liked money more than helping people. And they said, these people don't need to know. And they just started putting everyday tap water. And then the popes just bless it, or the priests just bless it. And now it's holy water. When really in the days of old, holy water was colloidal silver, which if you look at all the benefits colloidal silver has, that would be perfect. You dip your fingers in it, touch it to your head. They sprinkle it on you. It's all you need. You only need tiny drips of it to do amazing things. So, but the church decided to go for the Lavalio. And you also look at when they had electricity. Now they don't need to generate their own electricity to do their own electroplating and their own colloidal silver making, which is why most of your churches had metal steeples and metal flings on top. They weren't a wooden cross. They were a metal cross or a metal steeple or in the metal post up there. They were all, in essence, grounding rods, taking that energy and doing work with it. That's my opinion, and I'm just going to stick to it. Get older buildings from the 1500s, same way. They use stuff around the top of them.
What does that mean? If, say, like, I've told you about this, that it seemed that we were covered at one point in Indians, because all the countries have totem poles. And then you realise a lot of them had elongated heads. A lot of people don't realise there's a lot of elongated headed people buried here. But if they were Indians, how come they were doing this?
I can't tell you that.
Do you think they were Indians? Or do you think they were just like you and me, but we were just back then? Because I've seen, even 100 years ago, people had cars and mowed their grass. Maybe it was the same 100 years before that. Did you see what I mean? Like, they're pretending like we've evolved in the late 1800s.
I do see what you mean. It's an area that I've never really put a lot of gray matter into. I don't really... I can't tell you. There are lots of other people who have researched stuff. I've not done... You
don't want to get into that, but that interests me. Like, I just think, well, what were they like?
It's not my wheelhouse, I guess.
Yeah, sorry, a little bit. But it just amazes me that if they were that advanced then... Because you said the pyramids might have been making something that we don't find valuable today, but it was valuable then and they used it.
Right. Well, right. It's like if I showed you something that made buggy whips, okay? That could be great. I could show you a great invention like Eli Whitney and his cotton gin, okay? If I whip that out and I show you I can throw some cotton in there and twist it here and it pops out. Now, cotton gin can still be useful, but if I threw a bunch of hay in there, twisted around and a buggy whip popped out or a feather duster popped out, that's not very useful today. So people would be like, yeah, it's great and wonderful, but I don't need it. Static electricity is something that we didn't invent. It's not like an iPhone that, like, you can't say, there was no iPhones 300 years ago. I'll agree with that. But there's been static electricity ever since there's been static electricity. It's there. It's a piece of nature. So if somebody found a way to utilize it 2,000, 8,000, 12,000, 50,000 years ago, it's still static electricity. It's not like they pulled it out of nowhere. They had to invent it. It's a product of nature.
Yeah, that's what I mean. People obviously just don't realise. A lot of us just don't realise because they're making it look like science is amazing today, but science must have been amazing back then.
Oh, yes. And I think, I also believe, as it says in the Bible, that people lived longer, so they probably had more time to observe nature and work upon things. Their ideas probably weren't shunned as much,
Oh, he's doing that. He's doing sparks now between two balls.
That could be painful. I
It's 31 minutes 56.
Gotcha. I'm right there. All right. So yeah, he's right there. He's playing with two basically Van de Graaff generators, or a Van de Graaff. Yeah, I think they're two Van de Graaff generators.
Yeah, and they weren't in glass, were they? I suppose. Yeah. Anyway, carry on.
So these are all great science experiments that I think this should be something. I wouldn't say elementary school. Probably a high school student should watch to get an idea. And I saw this stuff I learned it in high school, but it was always Mr. Wizard tricks. This guy does it very well, how he explains it. But if no one understands static electricity, it is one of those things that people, like I said, when they pull their sheets out of their laundry and they get snap, 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 they're like, oh, this annoying static
in
electricity.
Electricity, there's dielectric, isn't there?
Well,
it's just electricity to the normal person, but there's different types of electricity, isn't there?
There are different types of electricity. They kind of all fall. Yes, there are different types. Depending on how you look at it, there really is only one. It all has to do with magnetism. But depending upon how we're manipulating it, we call it different things. And we do that because different people at different areas, like somebody in UK, Cambridge, does one thing, and somebody in UCLA does the same thing, and they give it a name, but it could be the same, but because of the experiment, it could be the exact same form of electricity, but they're calling it something different, like orgone energy and caloric energy and all these other things. They all have to deal with what I was saying, the resonant ambient frequency and force. Nature wants to always equalize. It always wants to equalize. And if you can in some way manipulate a separation, which is why you notice lots of the Great Giza Pyramids hallways are really long. So whatever you have on one side, you have something on the other. Even if one of them is 1/1800th of a electron millivolt difference, there is a difference, and it's the difference that they separate and expand upon. And then they take that difference and they pull it over to another area, and they keep building up the difference, so you have a higher capacity of the difference, and then they present those two together, and because you have higher capacities, you're getting what you get here, where do
you think it changes when you realise, like, instead of believing that you're on something that's spinning through space and all that crap, if you realise we're in an electric environment in the first place and that we're also electric, it changes everything, doesn't it?
It does help to understand and visualize it, which is, I think, a part of the problem. I've told you this in the past. Part of the problem I have when I try to talk to somebody is I have to first get them to forget, to unlearn everything they've learned. Because I'll sit there and I'll say, you see this shaft here, this shaft does this. It's like, oh no, that points at Orion's belt. And I'm like, all right, so we were here spinning on this ball, and that points at Orion's belt for 1/1800th of a millisecond once every day, and you say they built this shaft to point at Orion's belt, even though it does it for 1/1800th of a millisecond every day. And you say that was its primary function. Okay, fine. You believe that. And I'm going to talk to you about something else, which is another reason why I try to do my...
Asking you, do you think they did use the stars, though?
I think we've used the stars for a lot of things. Navigation, timekeeping, lots of things. But do I think that these particular structures used the stars? No.
Right, okay.
I think the structures were the structures, which is part of the reason why I have the videos I call pulling your head out of the sand, because I try to get you to visualize the structure.
The only reason I ask that, sorry, I'm cutting in because you're a perfect speaker, but the only reason I ask it is that once you get your head round, because someone even put it in a comment the other day, oh, it's so many hundreds of miles away, the sun. When you work out that whatever you're seeing in your perspective isn't actually very far away, and neither are the stars aren't that far away. I was just wondering whether they did use the stars for things. If they could do all this.
If you could pull energy from them or something?
Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, we're diversing, sorry. But I was just wondering if they can do all this down here, and the stars are electric.
hang on, you open that can of worms. Whenever anything up there in space is doing anything, it's bleeding electricity or energy one way or the other into the ambient area. What a lot of people sometimes used to call the ether, and then they don't call the ether because the ether's not allowed, but now they do call it the ether. So either way, that's why I call it the resident ambient frequency and force, the area around it. If I have this, you're not seeing me, but if I have,
I am.
look at his little rod that he has there. Okay, when that little rod is charged, the ambient static electricity around it is not the same as the ambient static electricity 3 feet away or on the other side of the room. And that's what he's working with when he brings it over and touches it to something.
That one of the pyramids was charging something? Not by saying charging up like a battery, but using it and making more and more energy. Do you think that's what it was doing? No? Yes? No? No? Yes? No?
Well, again, you've seen some of my videos. You should have some idea.
Well, I'm just asking you as it just came into my mind.
It's a multiple-parted question because you're asking it using terminology of.
I'm just a stupid person. You're the clever one.
Right, but you're asking.
No, I was just wondering, because you said maybe it was going up a bit into the sky, and I was thinking.
Are you at 33 minutes in, 38 minutes in?
I am 37:42.
All right, they got the two things, and they're the water, the equalization, right there. You're looking at two red things of water, and he's pouring soda into water.
He's just about to take the sticker off to take one lot out. He's taking one lot of water out now.
Right. This is what I was talking about, where he's demonstrating that water finds its equal. They're demonstrating that right here in this particular thing, and he's using it to explain the capacity of the energy stored on the surface of the sphere that he was playing with there. But I was telling you, they utilize the water always finds its equal in these experiments because these are facts of nature that you can't really dispute, and they're using them as a demonstration. That's what I wanted to point out to you. That's all.
Yeah, sure. Carry on. He's got a silver bowl now. He's got a silver bowl in his hand. We can charge this up until this starts to break down the air. And the shape.
What he's suggesting, the reason that the Tesla, both the big huge tower that he had, and usually you see your Tesla coils, they have a metallic sphere near the top.
Right, yeah.
Is because and I didn't know this until I watched that, the insides of the metallic sphere have no limit to the capacity they can hold. They're like a TARDIS. They'll hold, you can always add more to it. That's what he's suggesting. And it's pulling the ambient static electricity from the air and focusing it into the insides of the structure. That's what he's demonstrating here with the hose, the water, and the one plug he pulled out. So these are little things. I didn't know that until I watched this, but it helps me understand some of the construction of what it's doing. Now, everything has its saturation point where it won't hold anymore, which is why the Grand Gallery is on an angle. Well, it doesn't have to be on an angle. It could be vertical. It's on an angle because of communication. But what's happening is the static electricity is being brought down into the system because the moisture will be cooling and dropping because warmer things go up, colder things go down, water as it coagulates goes down, and as it comes down into the system, it's pulling the static electricity down into the system. Now that's artificially, nature wouldn't do that. Nature would want it up where it was, but because you're tricking nature and pulling that static down into the system, quarantining into the area they like to call the Queen's Chamber, I would call the Arc Chamber. That is where the work is done. But if people don't understand static electricity and see it, and if people don't visualize the system with water running within it and how water would react within it, then you can't see it working, which is, again, why I'd really like to have a visual model, either in CAD or physical form. Physical form would be much more difficult.
I like your stuff, Angel. I like how you do yours.
Yeah, but I could draw on a whiteboard and put a dinosaur and say there were dinosaurs there. That's not reality. If I can show you something in reality, it's kind of hard.
Yeah, that's not
kind
reality.
of like the guy with the holding the rod and making the mylar float in the air. If I can do that as a representation, it's kind of hard for you to say. If I tell you I can do it, it's one thing. If I show you I can do it, it's another. If I tell you what the pyramids are doing are one thing. If I show you what they're doing, it's another.
What you did, right? I just hope people realised it, is that, okay, you've got that theory that it was a burial chamber and all that crap. People say it lines up with the stars in the sky. But once you realise with your video that it had water in it and what they were, totally different, isn't it?
It is. However, I don't have a lot of letters after my name other than maybe .com, but I don't have the audience of people that are willing to accept it. I'm not a science professor. That's why a visual representation, if the Wright brothers could actually just fly over New York City and we're just flying there in circles for like 15, 20 minutes and then landed in the middle of Grand Central Park, it would have been a lot harder for people to say that flight didn't exist. But from what I understand, for over 5 years, people were still dismissing it. Oh, no, there's no way people could actually fly without hydrogen and helium and stuff like that. That's no way. Hot air balloons are the only flight there is.
Can I say something on that, Angel? Angel, years ago, we're talking like, say, 2016, 17, we did a hangout where Patricia found that the Wright brothers took off on like gas, say, or whatever you want to call it, petrol, gas, whatever. But when they were in the air, for the few minutes they were in the air, they flicked it to electric, and then they flicked it back to land, so that they were using gas and fuel. But when I looked it up the other day, it doesn't say it's electricity. It says it's a gasoline thing in there. So they just, but I don't believe that, because we made a video on it in 2016. They flicked the switch to electric. Were they using what you're calling the static electricity then? Who knows? But
well, I don't see why they would have taken electricity, because batteries in those days were very
maybe that's the electric. Maybe it's batteries.
Stored.
But they were saying that it was basically had combustion going on in there, you know, rather than it just being an electrical thing.
I haven't looked at the actual.
Well, it doesn't say it now, because they keep changing our history, but somewhere on here, right back at the beginning, unless YouTube have taken it off, right. Patricia saw it, said they flicked the switch to electric. We were quite surprised that it said it. But it doesn't say that now. It doesn't say that now. Oh, carry on, sorry.
Right. What I could think is possible is that they had a petrol engine on there, and maybe had a generator and were generating electricity, and maybe had an electric motor, an electric fan to spin it. So it's kind of like the way diesel locomotives work, because it is usually easier to have an electric motor than a motor that's direct driven by your motor has to keep running, and to have a gearing system and a clutch system is sometimes more complicated. And I'm assuming there would have been a transformer that would take the physical energy, a generator, to convert it to electric. But I cannot fathom them putting a battery on that structure, because they needed the structure to be as physically light as possible.
Right.
At the time, battery technology was so, they would have had to have like
one second, someone's calling, 1 second. So basically he's got something with nails sticking out now. He's got a bit of board, and I'm at 43.50.
Okay. He's showing you a ionic, it is how, well, he's showing you that you can use electricity instead of a fan blade to move air. And the little blue fabric that's, right. These are science parlor tricks. If you did this, showed somebody this, but it still exists, that nature is nature. He's not doing anything hocus pocus here. These are features that you can utilize using electricity.
It's an iron thruster.
Now he's got the triangle
So
thing.
what
You look at
about
the triangle
positive
thing?
and negative, you know, when you put your feet on the ground?
Are you at 45 minutes?
What about the positive and negative things when you got your feet on the ground with positive ions? What about that to negative ions? We're on 40.
Okay. So you should be looking at a little silver triangle right now.
He's got a bottle of water and someone's filming it. Yes. Yes.
Yes, you're looking at the triangle.
Yeah.
Okay. So there, again, he's using electricity to get flight. This kind of goes into the Nazi bell thing and stuff like that. So here they have it on a smaller scale, and they're using something which is probably only a few ounces. But, you know, whatever, you can keep making it better and better and more efficient. And I do think that there potentially is a way to get flight using electricity without using propellers or burning stuff, propulsion, things of that nature.
What's he using now? So we're able to use the electric field to accelerate ions. He says you can see the air moving. Sorry, someone's sending me loads of messages, so I don't know how that's turning up. They're sending me pictures of their house and things. But you can almost see it, but it's got like a trail on the air. So how does that happen?
Where are you at right now? 45 and...
Yeah, oh, please stop sending me messages just now. It's nearly at 46 minutes.
Nearly 46 minutes, all right. So, yeah, he uses they put an piece of incense so you can actually see the air moving.
Okay.
Which is, again, these are things that you can't...
Oh my God! So basically, this is what I reckon. The seas are electric. Obviously, the air is electric. It's doing the same thing in the air, like this, isn't it?
It is.
That's what's creating the winds and things. Is electricity. We think that it's just wind, but it's electricity.
Yeah. Well, it's also heat. It's always nature wanting to equalize. The moisture will make heavier air will fall. I mean, there's lots of things that make wind.
You can see how they like to play around with harp then, can't you?
Yes, harp will heat the air or heat the moisture in the air.
And he's now got a microwave out. He's got a microwave.
Oh, this is great what he does with the microwave. Here he plays with, he demonstrates plasma, which is cool. Again, these are the thing. I don't recommend you drill holes in your microwave like they are here, but these guys are scientists and experiments, and they understand what they're playing with.
And they've done it before.
Yeah.
Well, he's just opened. He made the sparks, which you're calling plasma, and now he's opened the door again. So inside, the grapes were too big. The grapes would be too big. So to do the resonance, you have to use a fork to tune the fruit to the exact resonance of the microwave. That's what he's just saying. But yeah, but microwaving is harp. And also, the other day, a friend of mine put a video out. He basically said that it's all the stuff they're putting in the air. That's what helps harp do what it does. It's what we call the contrails or chemtrails and harp together that's doing it.
Use it its new name. High or
definition.
Aerial spraying. Hang on, is it?
What, killing the people?
Well, yeah, but it has a better name.
Controlling the people?
Aerial distribution or aerosolic distribution.
Oh, that's terrible, isn't it? Especially when they told you they got rid of it out of out of fridges and things.
Aerial distribution.
Right.
They keep changing it. That way they can call. They don't call it polio anymore. You get temporary paralysis. What's that? Well, it's polio. By a different name.
Well, they're changing our history so much, but we'll never be able to work everything out. We need people like you, see, who work it all out. And Angel's very, very clever. Now he's putting a candle. He's lit a candle, and that's in the microwave.
Right. Now, when you get to about 50 minutes in, they actually get some good stuff.
We've got another minute to go, yeah. So he's talking about plasma here. So By doing this,
Yes.
you're going to make plasma.
Well, he's demonstrating plasma is what he's doing, because
Right, here we go. It's starting to spark now. Oh, but the light's still going and the candle's not melting.
that's because he's cooking the smoke. You know how like you can, when you cook a fire, you get the smoke that comes off. If you take that and you bring it back in and burn it again, there's still more stuff within that smoke to be burnt.
Right. Do you know what? In a way, the people before that had all this, they seem far more scientific than the lot that are here now. You're pretending that we've gone to the moon and all that crap. The candle went out, and now he's put the candle back in. He's lit the candle up. Wow, you don't think of that, do you? So, wow, and you think they're messing around with where we live. Even though it's all finely tuned for what it is, they're messing around with it.
Well, they are definitely messing around with it because...
And you're right, it is global, because global's not real. Global's all about money. Global's all about control. Global's something completely different to what you think it is. So, yeah, all for their global crap. Anyway, he's got a match, I think, a light now. It's just a match. Has it got water in it? I think it's got water.
No,
oh, my God.
There's no water.
Oh my God, that's what the Tesla thing did, isn't it?
Yeah, there's no water.
All right, but that's what the Tesla thing did. Oh wow, it's like there's the plasma, it's up in the top of the thing, and it's a ball of whatever it is, and the flame's still going. Cool. You get to see a different version of a microwave today. You think that's cooking our food?
Well, all it does is it heats the water. It doesn't cook the food. The warm water cooks the food. The microwave just heats the water.
Right.
It's a...
Right, the microwave's going now. The microwave's just been wheeled off now. He showed you that. God, that was quite incredible, because it kind of just reminded me of Tesla then, or what we think of Tesla. And then you need that thing on the top to harness it. Cool, you're such a clever bunny. I much prefer your version of explanation. I probably wouldn't have got it if I was watching theirs. But I like yours, Angels. So what's he doing now? So there's a spark. He's got like a just a... Oh, he's got 2 prongs sticking towards each other now. And then he's got a glass jar with a little ball in it.
Give me your minute count so I can find out where you are. Oh, I see. Okay, we're at 51 minutes and change.
Let's have a look. I'm at... Oh, right.
Okay.
It's got a little flame, little spark going now.
Now, he's also explaining there how the point is better to transmit than if you have 2 balls, and how a pointy object, the electricity kind of like runs off of, which is kind of why the center structure has a pointy top.
Oh, right, and now the generator thing's
structure...
going now. You know that thing you like playing with the sparks in it? Now he's got that working as well.
Well, there he's isolated the plasma into the glass dome.
Cool. Do you think the pyramids were doing that, or you're just showing how they harness?
No, I don't think the pyramids are doing that. I don't think they got to a higher voltage where they were playing with plasma. I could be wrong, but I don't think they got this high up in the scale. I think they were more back at just before plasma. Again, I would love to build this structure and run it through its course and see what it does, because I think it will surprise us. And the ultimate output, whenever you're playing with sparks and stuff, there's ozone. Maybe they were doing something with ozone. They may have been doing something with heavy water. I mean, the ultimately how the structure pans out will be our answer. I don't know it, but I know it's not a tomb. Well past
it seems very strange, because whenever there's a pyramid, even like I was looking at one about Merlin's Mound, which I don't think that one's out yet. I'm not sure. I can't remember. Maybe it is. But they said that Merlin's Mound is built near water. So water, if they were doing something like with natural electricity, then it had to have water involved in it.
What count you out almost to the second right now, because they're doing something with the glass, and this is a really cool thing.
53:13.
Okay, so
oh yeah,
you
got a
keep
glass in there now.
Okay, now you watch that glass, because they do something amazing here. I'm just going to let you watch it. And this is a parlor trick. It doesn't do anything other than show you how they can manipulate plasma. That's all this is showing you. It takes a little while to build up, and it happens here about 54:10.
I'm not sure where I am. I won't touch it at the moment. It's coming. Oh, yeah. Oh, he's turning the lights back on. I don't know if I saw it. Oh, he's
No, you didn't. He had to reset something. I remember watching. Like I said, I've watched it like 4 or 5 times.
That's how you know what he's saying. He's got to reset. He's put the lights back on.
You know,
I want to check our pressure, he says. We're going down.
It has to be at a perfect thing, which is part of why the Heisman and Fleiss, the cold fusion thing, why they had the problem. It's because if you don't have the situation at the right temperature, at the right pressure, the right, vacuum, everything to be what it needs to be, the experiment won't work. So if you, what they call, put your thumb on the scale, taint the results, you can say, oh, see, it failed. That's how, I just got a commercial. That's how they were able to take cold fusion and poo-poo it, is because when they recreated it, they didn't use the exact same setup. They didn't follow the instructions.
1 second, we've got to stop. Hang on, we've got to stop because I've got one. Cut off again because it was a commercial.
Commercial.
Yeah. Right, he's now putting it all back together. Start it again, he says.
We're like at 55:10, I am. Alright, so I think we're almost right on cue with each other. I'm a little bit ahead of
you. I was on 55:19. But anyway,
right, but we both had the commercial. I had the same commercial.
I know, that's crazy, isn't it? You had it before me.
I didn't skip mine. I waited until you were ready. Okay, here you go. See purple there?
Oh, wow.
Watch this.
Oh, my God. Right. And because it's inside. What happens if it wasn't? Well, it has to be in that glass thing. Oh, my God. What's all the lines?
That's plasma. It's plasma spilling out of the glass and shorting to the ground of the environmental chamber.
Oh, wow. So it looks a little bit like one of your generator things, doesn't it? But it's plasma in a glass. Wow.
And these are all parlor trick science experiments, but they're utilizing electricity and giving people a visual representation of the electricity.
You've looked all this up because you've become absolutely fascinated in the Giza pyramids, right? Before you got the Giza pyramids, what were they looking at to be fascinated to do all this?
The people who built it, or the people who
were looking at it? Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is you imagine you're looking at it right now because you're fascinated in how they were built. That is a machine, etc., etc. You've done some experiments yourself, and you quite like this video. But that's because that stuff's already here. But you imagine finding this stuff. If we were just Indians, we wouldn't be doing this.
No, we wouldn't. I'm not going to argue that one. Probably just that's why, going back to static electricity and people of the past, how they didn't care about it, is you were tilling your farms, you were playing with your loom, you were sewing your stuff, you were, cooking your dinner and shucking your corn, and electricity didn't matter to you. Up until the mid-1900s, who cared about electricity? People didn't have lights. They worked on candle power, lanterns, things like that. Electricity is something that children today are born with.
But that's what they told us. But you said earlier on, it probably went back to the 1400s. They were using some kind of electricity.
Some people, but not the average person. There's some people that have the knowledge are electroplating coins or making colloidal silver or doing other things. But that's not the average person. The average person tilling a farm, working with their cow and their horses and their stuff, what do they care about electricity? They didn't even have refrigeration.
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to tell you is, were we just Indians?
And electricity.
Were we just Indians and farmers, or were we a lot more intelligent right back then and had a different life to what they're saying? That's how they got the big buildings, because we'll call them the Tartarians, but I don't know what that means anymore because it's got Tarian on it, like authoritarian, totalitarian. So we're not sure what Tartarian actually means. Just another system of theirs, probably. But we'll call it that time because to me that's unknown history. We're not sure what's quite happened. But maybe if they were, it's like you wouldn't be an Indian and then you'd find out how electricity worked in your environment, would you? You know, you've got to be quite advanced for that.
When you ask that question, the way you ask it, let's go back to 1970. Okay, not that far ago. There were still people in like Idaho and things like that in our area, okay, in the States. There are probably people even today in parts of Uganda and South Africa that don't have electricity, don't know what a telephone is, and have I no idea what a cold soda tastes like, okay? They still exist to this very day. So when you say back then people, you know, we say people didn't have this and we were all farmers and knuckle draggers, the majority, 99% of the people were. But that doesn't mean there were not some people
but they would have to be
had knowledge.
They'd have to be quite educated or advanced to be able to do that. Because I'm just saying, if you're making fires and killing the animals, you're not likely to say, oh, look, I know how static electricity works now.
Again, this is where you don't have to be educated. I was explaining this to my mom when I showed her this video. I work with computers. I can fix any computer there is, honestly. If you have a computer that ain't working right, I can fix it. However, I can't recreate a computer from scratch. I don't intimately know how the computer works. However, it doesn't mean I can't fix it. I don't have to have all the knowledge. I just have to have some knowledge.
Oh, 2 seconds. So He's just showing you the ball and the plasma's going around and it's all little tiny balls in there.
Yep. If you have a church steeple that's metal with a wire that comes down into the back priest room, the ceremonial chambers, and then from there's another wire that goes down and goes to a copper wire that's put into the ground. And you utilize that for making colloidal silver. If one day it doesn't work because a rat gnawed through a wire, and they send me over there as the technician to fix it, I don't have to understand what's happening to know what I'm told to make it work. Like a refrigeration unit. I know the pipe has to go from here to there, electricity has to be here, but that doesn't mean I have to completely understand how the gases are squishing together and how the energy transference is. So just because people were utilizing it doesn't mean they were completely educated on its intimate knowledge. You can't, some people would. The people who created it, a few people would understand. Like, let's go even back again to turn of the century, 1900s. Electricity. Tesla, Edison, couple of dozen people understood how electricity works. But hundreds of people worked for Edison Corporation, were laying pipe and laying wire and making junctions and making sure things were separated. They don't have to understand how electricity works. They have to understand what they were told and how to do. And don't touch these two wires together. Always make sure you're wearing rubber gloves. They don't have to understand how electricity works. They just have to understand how to maintain it.
Right.
So there's different levels. There's the people who know how it works, the people who maintain it, who have knowledge of it, and then the rest of the people who don't even know it exists. A farmer plowing his thing with hooking a hoe to the back of a donkey and whipping its butt and making it plow the fields doesn't know that there's a guy in New York arc welding. Doesn't even know what arc welding is. Doesn't even know what electricity is to know what arc welding is. And the arc welder who uses electricity to arc weld. Even today, a lot of people don't know what electricity is. Electricity is, you can have a debate with physicists about what is electricity. I think the only one that would know that, Ken Wheeler, I think that's his name, the guy with all the tattoos on him, the Mr. Magnet. He's about the only one that really, him and Eric Dollard and a couple of other people, the only one that really truly understand what electricity is. There are lots of people who know how to manipulate it, and there are lots of people who know how to maintain it. But there aren't really a lot of people that know what electricity really is. Even I can't say I totally know what it is, but I probably know more than the average high school student, probably more than the average college student.
I think a bit more than that, Angel. I think we're quite good at what you do and say. You should be on one of these things, is telling the people with a big audience.
Right. Well, yeah, I haven't done my time at a college. I've done my dues, but I would love to play with these toys, and but either way.
Let's see if we can get our Tesla Coy here to play a nice song.
Oh, I love this, but this requires sound, so people should do this where there's sound.
What does
Otherwise,
it sound
just
like
looks
then?
pretty.
Does it?
Okay. Well, they actually play a different tune, but I saw a Tesla coil at the Griffith Observatory, and on Sunday at like noon, once a week, they turn it on and play with it. They don't do it too often because it's getting brittle and stuff, and they don't want to use it too much. But they have it play like dun, 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 something like that. They have it play
upbeat electric music. That's it, electric music. Yeah, especially if you want to see that. It's at let's see where it says it. If you want to see that part, where are we? It's at 1 minute 4:11. So just 1 minute.
Well, just start it a minute and listen to him, because it's what he says is as important as the demonstration he puts in.
Well, we've actually copied all the words, because I have it. I like seeing the words when the video
that's fine.
comes
You've
up.
copied all the words. Now, that's not copyright strike. You can show the words. You can't just hear them.
You can't. So you couldn't share him. Well, him talking, you'd probably get a strike. But we are commenting on his video. Hopefully, if he sees it, he likes what you say.
Oh, he won't. Well, he won't see it from me anyway. I'm a nobody.
Well, like me,
anyway,
I'm a nobody as well. But yeah.
Now,
so he's talking about the Faraday cage of 1933 now.
Right, that is the Faraday cage that Tesla himself utilized while he was there 100 and some years prior.
Well, that's the original one.
That is the one that Tesla constructed. That is one of the... Tesla probably constructed hundreds of them because he did that sort of stuff. However, that particular one that's there at that museum is one that Tesla brought to that museum.
Wow, it doesn't even look that old. It doesn't look old.
Well, it's wood and chicken wire.
Yeah, but the thing inside doesn't look that old.
Well, the thing inside is not Tesla's.
Oh, right.
Tesla's is the one. What you don't see, and is kind of funny, is he's sitting there using that, doing the demonstration with the sound, and he says, "This is the one that Tesla actually used right here on this very table 100 and some years ago. However, I promised you 1,000,000 volts, and we're not going to get that with this one here. So I brought mine from the States, and that's when they roll out the newer one in the Tesla coil, in the Faraday cage.
Right.
The one with the red coil on it, that is that professor that he uses in his classroom from the States. The little one on the table, that was built by Tesla, and Tesla used that one to demonstrate this same stuff 100 years prior. Now, he actually gets the two of them working together in symmetry, which is actually kind of cool. His is newer and can amp up to even higher voltages than Tesla's. And they use that for the final experiment at the end when they actually do some really cool spark throwing.
Oh, wow, yeah. It's happening in a round thing.
Were you about 1:07? Where you at?
I'm 106.50.
Okay, so you're just below a minute and 7. Okay, so right now he's going to turn them on, and they're actually going to make music in concert, which is kind of cool. But again, it's just an audio thing. It's a parlor trick.
Yeah, they're clapping
And
now, so they've obviously heard it. Yes, well done, well done.
And then after that, he's going to take the Tesla coil out of the Faraday cage and shoot lightning across the room. And then he's going to get into I'm blowing the end of it here. He's going to get into the Faraday cage and do the same thing to show you that even though it's very high voltage and very dangerous, if you master it, control it well, you can get very up close to it. You know, there are pictures of Tesla sitting in his wooden rocking chair with lightning shooting around him. I'm sure you've seen that photo.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that picture, yeah.
Right. Now, if you give him an aluminum rocking chair, we would have had a different Tesla and a different photo. But
would he have burnt up then?
He probably would have gotten a few burns here and there. Not going to say he wouldn't. I mean, depending upon exactly where the situation was, like, what they probably had to be really careful here is there's no electrical power cords on that floor. You know how, like, banks and stuff, they'll put a power block in the middle of the floor so you can plug your vacuum in. If one of those was in this room when they do this particular thing, it would have taken the passive leaf resistance to ground and shot to there. So you have to do these things in, like, warehouses and stuff where you completely control the environment, kind of like how the Great Giza pyramids are in the middle of a plateau where they completely control the environment. And if you're about a minute 10, they should be shooting lightning now.
We are 108.56, nearly 109 minutes. I think that's all happened. Well, he's opening the door now.
Okay. All right, so now they're taking it out. I'm ahead of you. I don't know how I got there, but I'm ahead of you.
Okay, they're taking it out.
You can jump ahead like a minute. They're just setting it up, putting it outside the structure.
Okay, electricity buzzing. Just got to wait for it there. It's on now, so electricity buzzing. So it's out of the Faraday cage now then.
Right. And what they're doing is they're shooting it from the Tesla coil to the Faraday cage, because the Faraday cage is the ground. It has to make a complete circuit, kind of like we do. How the area above us, the sky is the, I think, the negative, and the ground is technically the positive.
Right.
And the flow is from the negative, which has the ambient electrons, down to ground, which gives us our downward bias, as far as I understand gravity.
Oh, right, he's going to get in the Faraday cage in a moment. So obviously there was no sparks or anything on the cage when they were just using it with the cage there, but he's getting in. So does that change it all then?
No, it doesn't. It just shows that he's like inches from thousands of volts shooting through the air once they do the experiment. But
and it doesn't affect him in the Faraday cage.
It's kind of like if people were shooting arrows and throwing chainsaws at you, but they all miss because they aim them very well. They won't hit you because they shoot chicken wire on the Faraday cage. So he's being saved by chicken wire.
Wow. I suppose that's the Earth then, isn't it? Because it's got wheels on the ground, so it earths it that way, does it?
Well, if you notice there's a wire coming from it, it is the chicken wire is the wooden structure is just the structure. The chicken wire is really the cage. Metal is the cage. The chicken wire, the wood is just the structure. And there was an umbilical cord coming from the chicken wire over to the Tesla device. So it's a full circuit. It's going through the air to the chicken wire, through the wire, back to the Tesla device, and it's a full circle.
Right. So he's in the circuit.
Well, he's just outside of it because it hits
Right.
the chicken wire and then goes through, so it doesn't pass through. See how he's kneeling and he's like 3-4 inches away from the chicken wire on every side? If he touched the chicken wire, he'd probably get burns.
Right.
And you'd smell burning flesh. But as long as he stayed away from the chicken wire and got in there, he's pretty okay. And then when they put the Tesla coil inside of it, the intention is the Tesla coil jumps from the coil to the chicken wire and then back inside, but it's all within the structure.
And also, when you
Here he
think
took
about it, so it's touching the chicken wire, but the moment they turn it off, it's gone. It doesn't keep charge or nothing like that.
Correct, because we're supplying the power and we're controlling the power. And as soon as you turn it off, there's no more power.
Mm.
In nature, the power is always there. So the thing about the Great Giza Pyramid is there is no on-off switch. If somebody was to short it, it's going to short forever, which is why they have the structure on top of the Great Giza Pyramid to alleviate that buildup of static electricity to this very day, because if we took that off, it would go back to doing what it was intended to do, which is collect and quarantine that static electricity.
Right.
Now, the rest of it wouldn't be working because we don't have water flowing through it, but you would still have the outside of the structure acting as the outside of a Van de Graaff generator.
Right.
All right, now he's giving the guy a crystal ball. The thing is over. They're giving awards right now. There's nothing more to see.
Should we stop that one for a moment? Let's stop for a minute. 1 second.
Sure.
Oh no, it says
I think that
it says the Royal Institution. Well, it says with David Ricketts.
David Ricketts is the lecturer. The Royal Institution over there in the UK, your backyard, is where it's being held.
Right, so we'd like to say thank you very much for them doing this video, and Angel loved it, didn't you?
Yes, I think this should be, every high school student in every country in every world should see this translated into their own language and just have a brief understanding of what static electricity is, so when they're confronted by it, they're not taken blindsided and don't understand. Now, like I said, a lot of kids know these days. They know to put anti-static sheets in the dryer. They know, when I started with computers, everyone had to ground themselves with anti-static mats and all this stuff. Again, showing our knowledge of static electricity.
Coming from a man who likes to know how things work.
I do like solving puzzles.
Yeah. So basically, you've done the bit where, well, I can mend that, but now you want to know, you just like how it all works, what it is, how it works. But so anyway, thank you very much to the people making this video. It's helped make our video because obviously Angel wanted to talk about it. So just starting your video here, there's a QR code.
Well, that is intended so that anyone can pull up the image of the drawing of the section that I'm recreating within the video, just so that I kind of feel everyone should be able to put their eyes on their own things. If I say, here's what I'm basing it off of, I want you to be able to see what I'm basing it off of. So that is why I put that QR code right in the beginning. And I believe I actually show the image, but like I said, you can use that and use your phone, pull the actual image. You can zoom in on it more, something you really can't do in the videos.
Right, so basically you're going through a bit of the inside of the pyramid, and then you've simulated that. This is what your video's about, a simulation of what you're showing right now.
Correct. My view of the system is that and this actually is premature. I did this, like you said, 10 years ago. Since then, I've have a slightly better understanding, but the overall premise is pretty much the same. If there was any gas being released from the bottom section of the Great Giza Pyramid, which I believe there was, and I believe that gas to be oxygen, and I believe that gas to be being pulled from the water, using what we call today electrolysis or water electrolysis, because if you just say the word electrolysis, people think about getting their hair zapped. But either way, water electrolysis, which separates the water into its respective primary gases, hydrogen and oxygen. Now, if you're about 20 seconds in, you're looking at the image that QR code will take
109.
you to.
Oh, right, we've gone on now. 109. Go back to the first few seconds. It'll show you what the pictures. Oh yes, those pictures. Yeah, that's what I was talking to you about. Yeah, but now we're inside.
Well,
you're showing
I'm
the.
watching it. You know what? I'm watching it at quarter speed, not half speed. So I'm well behind you. Hang on. Let me go to half speed.
I'm on.
So you're at a minute.
A minute 20.
Minute 20, 15, minute 20.
So you're
there
showing
we go.
this conduit, I suppose that is, isn't it?
So I'm showing you within that bottom section, if you're exactly where I am, I'm pointing with my finger to where you can see a break in the wall. In the picture, there's a break in the wall.
Yeah.
Now that break in the wall means nothing to anybody other than if you visualize this being saturated with water and having a gas. It can be any gas. Let's just say air. Now that break in the wall, you can see, if you're looking at the same thing I am, you're at 1 minute and 46 seconds in, you can see how it's stucco-y for two-thirds of the hallway, the roof of the hallway, and then it's smooth for the last 1/3. And that break, that little tooth, runs the ridge. It goes up the side, across the roof line, and then down the other side. And it may also go across the floor line, but there's dirt and stuff there. So I've never dug in there myself, and I've never seen anybody dig in there. So I can't tell you if the rim goes around the whole thing, but what's most important is it goes across the roof line. And I think if it wasn't important enough for them to point it out to you, they wouldn't have also made it go down the sides, because going down the sides has no function. It only helps you visualize it and see it. So I really think they were communicating, making sure you got to see pieces that were important. But that's my belief, that there's a ton of communication in here that we're overlooking. But either way, the tooth across the top would allow the air, or whatever it is, the gas that's crawling out along the top of that roof line, to bubble up into that tooth and start a bubble. And then as more gas comes into there, that bubble will grow and crawl across the smooth part of the roof line until it eventually gets big enough, keeping its root, its anchor at that one ridge, because that's the way gas will work. And if you could demonstrate that. I demonstrated in my thing, but my demonstration, when we get to it, is too physically small, and the bubbles are so big that it kind of overcomes the system. If you have to picture it being a 16-foot long hallway instead of a 3-inch long hallway that I have in the demo. But it's still there that you could see the water bubble out, and as it bubbles out, water comes down to displace where the air was, and that causes the water hammer. I don't know. I pointed it out, but I don't know if I pointed it out later. When you're done, if you go back to about the minute 50 mark, you can see on the left side of the hallway, the left side coming in, the right side in the picture, where there are piles of sand in kind of like a cone shape every 5-6 feet. These are, and luckily they took these pictures before this was disturbed, because now they've cleaned that. Yeah, he's with me. The piles are representative of the frequency of the water. When the water hammer comes down and it causes its little pressure zones, those pressure zones cause the particulates to fall out of the water, and that's the sediment you see in those piles. at that frequency. And this is recreatable as well, and you can even see it a lot of times in rivers and stuff where the ripples of the water are, where there'll be sediments in a pattern, and that's because there are ripples in the water that you can't visually see unless somebody puts a dye pack or something in there, which is kind of like in the video we just saw, how they were using incense so you could visually see the air. You know, you can't always see the turbulence within the water.
Wow. It's just so intricate, isn't it? All of it.
It is, and you know, there's so much information that people can call it confirmation bias, but I think I've got so much of it that I'm beyond confirmation bias. I really think it's just confirmation, period. There's no bias here. This is what it would do. This is how nature works. Static electricity is real. Water does go down. Water vapor that's warm goes up. Air, any gas within a liquid goes up. I mean, these are just facts of nature, and these guys put them all together to create one huge system that work. There is a function.
1 second, sorry, my phone's ringing. But Angel's done an experiment, and look at that. This is Angel's experiment. We'll just stop for a second because this is important. It's on now, so I've just got to put it back up. I'll have to edit that bit. Come on, back up.
Tell me what the count you're at. I want to be online with you.
1 second. Oh, we don't want that one. We want this one. I'm on 8 minutes, 7 seconds.
8 minutes, all the way up there. Okay, 8, 7, go.
Right, so obviously this is an experiment that you've done, and I've shown it before, but I think this is great, your little experiment. Because to anybody, most people will never think that this would have been inside the pyramid.
Well, what you're looking at, and I don't know if you're exactly, let me see your screen so I can see exactly where you are. Okay, what you see there, that little tooth, put it back. The little tooth there represents go up.
Sorry, I've got to get there.
And to the right, there you go, that tooth. That represents that one tooth. The way that I have it slightly at an angle there is to try to make sure that the gas is contained within there before it bubbles into the tooth. They use that doing stucco. Go down a little bit. You're focusing a little high.
Yeah,
there you go. Okay, and then the bubble will build up where your finger is. That is your finger. No, that's my finger I'm looking at. Yeah. Well, right where I'm pointing, that's where the bubble will start, and it will crawl across there until it bubbles into the upper section. Now, right there, I only have about 2 inches. Each one of those square grids is an inch. So this is definitely not even to partial scale, because the hallway where my finger is there, that is a total of, I think, about 20 feet in length, 16 to 18 feet in length. I'm trying to narrow down because different people measure it from the bottom corner, other people measure it from the top corner. So because I don't have an accurate amount of where the measurement went through and from, it's hard to actually recreate this. And I would love to get someone like Jeff, who lives there on the plateau, to actually take a tape measure, or even one of the digital ones they have nowadays, so you don't have to do anything, it will sneak it in there and get some numbers, to get some real, definitive, honest to goodness numbers, so that we could put this into a CAD and or 3D print it and actually physically model it to represent what's happening. Now, in that hallway, as the air bubbles up and the water comes down to displace the air, when it hits, you're going to get like a little snap, and that pressure bubble will echo through the system, and that is why you see the deposits of dirt there, because it happens often. Like, it could be once a day, could be once an hour, depends on how fast these bubbles are running, but it will happen, even if it takes a week or a month every time. It happens consistently with the same force each time, and that's why those dirt piles are where they are. And because those dirt piles are there, I didn't understand that when I first started looking at this, but those dirt piles are there from the 1800s. It's not because somebody swept them up and put them at nice, even 6-foot intervals. They were there originally. And if you look into any of the images of the hallway, the dead-end shaft, you'll notice there are piles of sand in there as well, piles of dirt and debris in there as well, only they're at a closer interval. And that's because that same pressure bubble, as it echoes through the system, will echo through the system and then echo through that tunnel, that dead-end shaft. Only that dead-end shaft, what you can't see on there, at the end at least, it pigeon tails. It turns into, it goes from about being about 24 inches wide to about 18 inches wide at the end. So they're taking that energy, setting it somehow, and then focusing at the end. And they're most likely doing something like cavitation, forcing a cavitation, or forcing a compression of some type. Whatever it is, there is a reaction that they are forcing. And that reaction, I'm sure, will be a complement to the system. It'll either create air bubbles, create more this, or change the polarity of something. I don't know what it is. Physics is something I'm interested in, but not an expert in. And there are experts out there or modeling this. We will get an answer, and we may be surprised from the answer. Did you know that back in again, going back to the 1700s, that to light a cigarette, they had about a 2-meter long tube of glass, and you'd shove a shaft down it, and the compression of the air would be enough to light a little flint, and then you'd pull that out to light your cigarette, and those were cigarette lighters.
Wow,
This is a
no.
technique. Look that up. You start with something about 3 feet long, and you just push it down to the ground, and it creates pressure, and that the pressure creates heat, and that starts a flint, and then they pull it out, and that's what they use to light their cigarettes. Those were cigarette lighters in the 1800s. Look
Wow.
up. I'm going to see if I can Google it real quick, and you can pop that image up there. Let's see. I guess it would be pressure cigarette lighter. I don't know if there's now everything is new. Everyone's trying to sell you something current.
Yeah, they've changed everything because they keep changing the search engine so that we can't find this stuff.
I would believe that too.
9/11 now, you've got to get to about page 6 before you see a building going down, when we know that's what it was all about.
Well, in the old silent movies, that's, to be chivalrous, somebody would be walking around. It's basically a walking stick, but you take your walking stick and you press it, compresses the air, lights a flame, you pull it out, and that was it. It did it with compression, which is the same kind of way that the diesel engines work. They work without a spark plug because they compress the gases, and the gases ignite all by themselves because they get hot because of the compression. There's no spark plug in a diesel engine. It uses that technology, and of course it worked so well that they killed the guy to keep the patent. But that's a story for a different day.
Anyway, you do put water in this one, don't you? Oh, it's finished. Hang on, we're going to stop a minute. I was going to put you down for a minute because I'm standing here with this, see, so that we can take it. We're going to need to go to another one now because now you've explained that, but we need to... So, after we've watched all those professors, this is Angel's experiment. So, Angel, we're on now. You've got a ruler underneath it as well.
I am trying to find it on my end.
Oh, well, it's the subterranean section model. Look, Ma, new toy.
I'm trying to find
10 years. Got to go back 10 years now, Angel.
What's the icon look like?
It's got a picture of. There's loads of them. There's about 10 of them with the water, with your machine in it. Your experiment.
Oh, it's the one with the bubbles. All right. So it is one of those. I was just looking around the time range for the word look.
I've never really thought about it, the inside looking like this until. It's not the first time I've seen your video, but when I think about it, it's quite incredible that the pyramid could have had this going on inside it.
Well, that's why I put the QR code that lets you pull up somebody else's sketch. So it's not, you don't have to take my word for it or think I'm embellishing it. This is, somebody else did that sketch. I haven't been there with a tape measure. So I didn't make the sketch. Somebody else did. And all the drawings look, that's the one that is the, in my opinion, the closest to reality that I can get to. And
Just
you can
explain
see
to
how
people
long that
if they
hallway is.
just explain if they see it. It is leaking. You knew it was leaking. You say in your video itself, very sorry, it's leaking, but it does. Your
Yeah.
what you've made still works, even if it leaks. Just saying.
Yeah, I was using a piece of styrofoam and a piece of plexiglass, and I couldn't get, if I put something in front of it to hold it, then it would block the view. So my model wasn't, you know, it was a high school at worst. I would get a D for that, just for the model. In fact, I'll give myself a D. I'd like to build one out of something opaque using a 3D printer. I'd love to, and I'd love to demonstrate it functioning. I'd hook a little lead there. We can actually do electrolysis so people can actually see it functioning the way nature would be. But otherwise, you could put an aerator that's how I did it there. I just used an aerator from a fish bowl, just to give an example. And I also put it where there's a granite rock in the hallway that goes between the subterranean chamber and the descending shaft, and I put it there to actually show the air would go up into there and would bubble back into the room first, the way it's engineered. And that's because they are working with the separation of two different gases, one of them being lighter. The hydrogen is lighter. So the hydrogen is designed, it's even more complex. It is designed to catch any hydrogen and pump it back into the primary room, but allow the oxygen to escape at the same time. And that is the reason I'm pointing out in those videos, when I'm pointing out the hallway, you can see a V shape cut out of when you're looking down the hallway, the left side roof coming from the subterranean chambers, antechamber, the pre-chamber, I forget what name they give it. I call it the, sub-cathode, and we can get into that. The anode is the granite, or the area. The granite rock is just a representation because they're communicating. The area is and what's occurring within there when you actually get into it. Hydrogen will be exuding off the area within there. It actually does, I believe, form to the surface of the rock, because when you look at the scarring on the wall, which I do point out if in the video where I'm going over it, the long one, the one we just watched, you will see with a picture from the 1800s, they moved that rock. You see it in its original position, and then they have it in the position where it is today, but you can still see the scarring on the wall of the original position. And you notice right where the scarring on the wall is, there's also a crack that goes around the whole thing. A separation.
You know that you said
like
that they're fires, or you could say that the Great Giza Pyramid is the only one that's had a fire in it. Do you think it wasn't exactly fire, that could have been like what we've just been watching, electricity?
I think it was a spark.
Yeah.
A spark. It was a spark. And the spark, in my opinion, from how I read the room, the condensation would form on the south wall of the Queen's Chamber, what I like to call the Ark Chamber. It would drip down at that area they like to call the niche. Remember how we went over how you can see it looks like somebody was scraping there with like a cat. Looks like it was scraping there. The driplets are kind of forced to go to the left side, which would put them right to the center of that long dead end shaft, which I will tell you is kind of like an antenna. They were playing with static electricity here, so look at that like kind of like an antenna. And when that drip falls, when you look at the mechanics of that room, in fact, Karen, I think the best thing you could do is I finally got my website working now that GoDaddy messed me up and I had to change different providers. But if you go to, and it's still working.
All right, 1 second, I'll just stop this one. So basically, just explain that they were taking the gases out of here. Hydrogen, oxygen, heavy water, light water. That's what this is about, your experiment.
Well, the experiment here is just, all right, go back on the recorder.
I didn't turn it off. Carry on. Sorry, Professor.
The experiment here is just showing how a gas being removed from the system that originates from within that lower section, how the waters within the system would react. You can see that as it bubbles out, water comes down to replace it. And I was playing with it a little bit because I couldn't seal it. And you could feel it like I'm going off on
energy, energy.
John Tadman calls it the pulse. You know, when he has his pressure pump, you can hear the ka-ching, 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 ka-ching of a water pressure pump. Well, that's because it's using a flapper valve and stuff. Here, it's not using a flapper valve. It's containing a bunch of the gas until the gas reaches the point where it breaks over the edge. It breaks over the edge. The water comes down to displace it. But once it hits the point where it can't compress anymore, it gets its little water pressure, and that echoes through the system. And that pressure bubble they then utilize. And also, if you look at the dead end shaft, I believe I pointed out to you several times how it's more shaped like a caterpillar. They always draw it as a nice straight, everything is nice and straight and flat and smooth and how perfect it is. That shaft, if you look at it, it's like a caterpillar. It goes in and out in waves. And if you can think of a pressure wave going through there, you know, I'd have to say this is more towards above high school level thinking. Think of a pressure wave echoing through there. Or anybody who is a plumber. Plumbers have that. When you run your water and it goes dum bum 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 bum, you know, that pressure wave, that that water hammer can do a lot of damage, but you could also focus that. And I believe you most likely can probably convince a cavitation, which cavitation, as the water comes back together, from what I understand, is like 32 microelectronic volts, where when you burn it together, you only get 2 microelectronic volts of energy. So it is days over days, you know, a magnitude of the amount of energy you get from a reaction, and you're getting this reaction for free because you're just manipulating the system as the gas is going out. I told you that oxygen is a byproduct. They don't care about that gas. It's exuded out of the system, and they capture it again, and when they pull it in up in the King's chamber, where they suck it in through that one valve. So the oxygen is a byproduct. It's the hydrogen that they have to capture and bring up there. It's a really beautiful system, and the way it's engineered, the appreciation for this, how it's designed, people call it the unfinished room. I think it should really be called the magnificent room.
Mm.
They convince you not to think about it, not to focus on it, by calling it the unfinished room, which almost makes me think somebody at the Rand Corporation knows exactly what this does, and says, how can we discourage people from actually focusing on it? Call it a pyramid. Drill holes in it, put things over it, give it a grand step, do this, put air ventilation in there, and don't let them down into the area. We'll call it the unfinished room and tell them it's unsafe. End of day. Next story.
Anyway, did you want to show one more picture then? Off your webpage?
Well, I was trying to find it, but yes, if you go to...
All right, 1 second. Let me just stop the video, because I've got it... Right, 1 second. No. My video recorder moving all over the place.
Oh, they see your video recorder?
Yeah, 1 second. Let me just stop the page up. 1 second. Here's all Angel's pictures. So where are we going? Oh, yes, and that's on photos, Great Giza Pyramid, there.
Okay, you can type in mid.com. Or I made it easy. You could also type photo.great Giza pyramid, because, you know, this way I made it both, because I don't want people to say, like, because sometimes I say go to photo, and sometimes I say go to photos. I made it both, because I own the domain. I can do that sort of stuff. So near the bottom of the first page is an image, and I'll find it again and show it to you so you know what you're looking for. And you can just scroll down slowly so people can see all the pictures I have there. And I have lots of pictures so I can refer to them, because I believe in letting people see I can describe you how Kennedy got shot and then do that head jerking thing. But when you actually see it 50 years later, how come it looks so much different? So here we go. You see that bare image I have on my screen, Karen?
Right, I do. So I haven't hit that yet. It's still going down.
All right,
though,
it's down there. Okay, that is one that we want up, and I'm going to find you a second one. It's actually 2 rows below it.
Oh, well, show me the picture. Show me the picture again.
Well, okay, 1 second. My computer's not super fast. This is one picture.
Okay, with a little sort of like roof on it. Okay.
Yep.
I haven't come across that yet.
It's
a long way down.
Because the further you go down, the more it comes up, because I have hundreds of pictures there. But it's only maybe like 4 or 5 screens down.
Okay, well, I don't know how far I've gone down, because I've been doing it. You asked me to do it slowly, so I've been doing it slowly.
My fault.
No, we're going down. We're on the capstone at the moment.
Oh, it's right. Well, there's parts where it's near there. Unfortunately, these aren't in any order. They're just, I guess, the way I stuck them in there, and not even that. And they're not in alphabetical order. I don't know how Google sorts them right now. And actually, the way they see on your screen depends on how you sort them. You just have access to the files, and how they're sorted really depends on you. So it may not be exactly the same thing. Or I can just give you the name, or I can just send you a quick link.
Oh, I think that's it there. Is it picture O peg? It's next to the capstone. Yeah, that's it. I've got it now.
Okay.
Do you want me to open that one up?
Go ahead and let people see that. That is the Queen's Chamber that we were talking about. And just picture a drip coming down that back niche and falling down into that area. You see how with that tail...
I can't open it. Oh, here it comes. Hang on, it's just coming. Let me just... Before you talk, it's taking a little while here while it's opening up.
Right. No problem. Technology's good. Hey, you know, just being able to do this is great.
Yeah, it's just taking a little while to open up, though. Is it coming? It's stopped now. Come on, open up.
Next time I'll try to I don't know the questions you're going to ask. I try to have all these, and people are welcome to look through all these images, all of them. Let your own vision see it yourself. Dispute me, please. Okay, so a drip coming down, which would be that, this is kind of you're looking into the room. A drip coming down would fall down into that area. And if you notice, that drip is going to be in the dead center of the room. In fact, it's mathematically the dead center. If you hop out from that picture for a second and go down 2 rows and 1 over, if yours is the same as mine, and I'm letting you see my screen so you can see the image that I'm looking for. Which one?
We look at the drawing.
This one right here, yes. This one.
Okay. We're going down.
Again, I didn't make these numbers. Somebody else did, but I believe them. And as I learn more, I understand them. When you have this image that I have on my screen on your screen, just let me know.
Yeah, it's still loading up. Come on.
That's okay.
It's not loading up. Come on, load up.
That's mean. They're coming from the Google servers. They should be everywhere. I have this on Google's website, so...
I think it's got to the bottom. Is your last picture 3 pyramids with triangles? Like
It may. Hang on.
It's got the last picture I've got is a staircase.
Yeah. Go up 1, 2. In fact, if you go up 2, you see this image right here. This is the room itself. If you want to look at the photo, in fact, that would be good, real quick, to look at the actual picture itself, not a drawing, the actual picture.
Oh right, I went past it. Well, it's only just
that's fine.
It's only just below the other ones, though, isn't it?
They do happen to be all in the same area, which works out well. It kind of tells me it's probably because that's the area I was focusing in on the time. And right next to the one we're going to look at is a really nice picture of the dead end shaft, which you've noticed, or the shaft in the subterranean chamber, which you notice when you look at it nowadays, they've completely cleared out all the dirt. So the evidence of the reaction that I focused on, those piles of dirt, are now all gone. So they're not there. So even if I suggested to you that's what it is, there's no evidence to back up my saying, where that picture from the 1800s has the evidence in it because it's before they cleaned it up.
So we want to go to the next picture, yeah, and open that one up.
Yeah, the next picture over, the one I got on my
screen. You know the one there you've got with the bit sticking right up? I don't have that, but I have that one there, the one with the roof on it, so I'm opening that one up.
Well, I think they're the same image. It's actually, they are...
All right, we've just got to wait for it to open up, as you know. But we can see the ones above, the actual brick or stone.
You're talking about this one, the one with the roof on it.
Yes, that's the one. Oh, no, I'm going to the one you just had up with the roof on it.
Perfect. They're just different people's drawings of the same room. And they all give you the same information. And it's nice to look at all of it. If you notice, this room is centered. The center of the room, again, I didn't make this math. The center of the room mathematically is right here with that back wall of the niche. That is because when that drip is falling in that one spot right there, it's falling through the high energy, lots of static electricity steam within the room, and it's falling down. And if you can, anyone can go back to the other picture that she already pulled, the photograph of the room. You can see that the water is directed to the center of the shaft, and then it will fall. And you also look, if you look up there, there are two little teeth, like little Dracula's vampire teeth, inverse, that will make sure the drip is within the focus range of that high step all the way at the top there where it says 1-1.2, which would be cubits, the way they're measuring it in this particular image. It's designed to fall into there, and if you, Karen, if you can, you see how I'm zooming in there?
Yeah, I'm just showing. I'm just putting my arrow to that.
Put your mouse right there, so you're focusing on that. That right there, you can see, even by their math, that there happens to be a sweet spot right there, and that is where those two little teeth visually are in the picture. That is because that is where they want the drip to fall. That is their sweet spot. So if this was the racetrack at the during the Operation Philadelphia, not the Philadelphia experiment. What was the one where we were enriching uranium? The Oppenheimer thing. Anyway, where we were doing it, there's that one sweet spot where the uranium has to be the right level to go through the pinhole, otherwise it falls to the high side or low side, depending on whether it's uranium 182 or whatever the exact numbers are. This is the sweet spot where they want the drip to be, and when that drip falls, it has that spark. That is your fire in the middle. That drip right there is your fire in the middle. As it releases its jolt of static electricity, it is going to enter that room dead center north and south, but it's off center left and right. Its glory hole that it wants is the one shaft on the far side, which is 6 inches deeper into the room. And because the niche is off centered, it's also about 1.5 feet further away that direction from the glory hole. That is the true ground of the system. The other side shorts to the third pyramid, which is the capacitor where it's storing the energy in the system. And because the glory hole is further than the manipulated capacitor, the third system, just like in the experiment with the little cups and stuff, it is taking that energy. It wants to go to natural ground, but you trick it because the manufactured conduit is the path of lesser resistance. It has to jump less to get to a ground, just like the Tesla thing. The nature wants to go to ground, but if you give it something which is quicker and easier to get to, it's going to hit it first. It's going to take the path of least resistance, and that is your fire in the middle. That spark repetitively as all those drips come down. And not all of them are going to hit that hole. Some of them will hit that hole because it's going to ground. Some of them will reach the energy to get there. But the majority of them are going to go to the other side, which is why there was that crack in the wall. They say it was a crack, but when you look at it, it's electrical arc scarring. Again, the people in the 1800s had no idea what an electrical arc scar looked like. They never tried to, do arc welding or had a short in their life. They've never dealt with that amplitude, that amount of energy, the voltage and amperage in their life. A little spark from, as you get your boat to the dock and you reach over and you touch the dock and you get a little spark. That is nothing compared to what's happening in there repetitively, probably for hundreds of years. That is why there was that scar in the wall that led the person to find the conduit, because they chased the scar, and then they decided to now some people say they used a ball team hammer. Some people said they were using sonar because sonar was available at the time. I don't know what it is, but they found the other hole, which was not visually there. You couldn't visually see it, so it wasn't plugged in any way. No one opened it up, put some magical ceremonial stuff, and then recapped it over. It was not visual. And the only way we found the other one is because of the arcing, which is, again, evidence of the reaction. If the system works the way I'm suggesting it to work, of course there would have been arcing there, because all those little sparks over hundreds of years are eventually going to eat their way through the rock, making damages. Everyone hits it. It's breaking little pieces off. Anyone plays with sparking and arcs or has electrical plug where they just once in a while, you know what electrical arcing looks like. That is what it is. They've plastered it over, painted it over, told you it was a crack. It all fits into my story. It's all confirmation bias. I really think I'm on the right line. I don't think I'm wrong here, and I think as soon as I can make a model, either in 3D CAD or a physical model, people, they can say, oh, it's definitely a model dead thing to, a big thing for dead people. I say, that's great, but look at what happens when you add water. Just look at the way it bubbles together and it all works, and wow, it does magic here. And I mean,
to be honest, when you see the bits inside here, the chambers and all the things, and it's a machine. It's something else, isn't it? It's definitely. That was
not done as a tomb. There's no ceremonial release. Now, I'll tell you some of the communication. You can hear me now and believe me later. But when you look at the steps on the side of the pyramid, each one of them aligns with one of the depths here. And you notice as they go up, they align with a specific one. When you take which side, this step right here, what it aligns with, and at that elevation, you'll find, I told you each one of the pools were at a different elevation. So it will tell you which pool or which section it's working with. Everything is done visually to communicate. You also, when you look back at the picture, you go back to the picture, and I'll show you if you can find it and pull it up on the screen. It's great. Otherwise, people can find it on their own. It's all on the website. You can do it on your own.
Oh yeah, I'll find that one. That one's up here. Hang on, just got to go back.
You can see even the floor line goes up a little bit, and the floor line goes up a little bit. You pay attention to that edge and what it aligns with. It tells you that you see how it perfectly aligns with the highest one, and that's the deepest one. It's done to communicate that is the glory hole, and it's working with that. I don't know. Until I know everything about it, it's hard to completely read it, and that's where I need mental people to help me. And I need confirmation of, as close as I can get it, the elevations of the pools outside of each one of the pools. And people can do that with their cell phone while they're on vacation over there at the Great Giza Pyramid. Just drop it on the ground, put it to the elevation thing, snap a picture of it. I just need to know elevations. We need to get elevations in this room because water always finds its level. We talked about that already. You've talked about that all the time. Whatever elevation it's at outside, it will be at that same elevation inside. And these are done to communicate what they're trying to do and what is working with what. And when we also get into, there used to be a pit that they sealed over. You can see in this picture it's old enough that there's still a little dimple in front of it because it was soft dirt at the time.
I haven't actually got that one. I don't see that one, but I've got other ones. They're in colour.
You know, I to be honest with you, Karen, I wouldn't be surprised if some images are blocked because your country doesn't allow you to look at them. There are images that I can upload onto here.
I've got a colour one. It looks almost, it's all the same as that. It's just in colour.
Oh, yeah, you can get a colour one. Sometimes the black and white, you get to see things that colour one doesn't. But I have colour pictures on there as well.
I can't make it bigger. I can't make the thing bigger on this one. It's quite small, but yeah, we're looking at that.
Yes, probably this one you're looking at.
It's a bit. That bit in the showing is bigger in the picture. But we've just done that one with the roof. That
one there.
That one.
That one. Okay, that one doesn't quite go as deep. You can't see the floor, but that's still a good picture. If you hop, I think it's back one. You can see the floor, and it's still soft in this picture. So this picture was pre-2000 when they did the quote repairs and patched that floor, you know, so grandma doesn't trip. But they're taking away pieces of it because if you dug down into that floor like 2 or 3 feet, you'd find little boxy square things that would make no sense, except for that I guarantee if we get their elevations, they'll align with what I'm calling the koi pond outside, which is what Jeffrey Drum the other day when on his site tour of the Giza thing was pointing out, and that now that I understand it is working again because the pressures, water always finds its level, is working as a lock to keep the heavy waters within the system and just by the pressures of the water, because water always finds its level. This system is great, and the more I learn about the plateau, the more I understand it, because it is a beautiful system, which is why I'd love to set up a bunch of fish tanks and build this in 3D CAD. It will completely amaze people at how this system will perform, if nothing else, a really pretty waterfall. But I think it's going to be more than a waterfall. The pressures and everything in there, they're doing a whole lot more than we have ever conceived of giving them credit for. It should be a learning tool, and unfortunately, I think it will be a big kick to the gut of our taught history.
Can I ask you something? Where in these pictures?
No, I'm never going to commit suicide. But if they kill me, that's to shut me up.
In here, where's the picture of that? You know, you were talking about the crack in the wall. Where's that in here then?
Oh, I'll find that. I think I had a picture of that somewhere near the top. Again, well, on mine, it might be near the top. But
I didn't see one myself, but
hang on. I should start relabeling these so I can refer to them quicker. Crack in the wall. Hang on. I've got so many pictures, it's hard to find it.
And what is there's a room that I saw, or a big sort of opening, that's got grooves.
I'll tell you what, you show me the picture you have a question about, I can probably tell you what it is.
That one.
That is the back wall of the antechamber, which is up at the top just before the...
I'm just going to open that picture up, but we're looking for another one.
Go ahead.
But that's crazy, because look what they... Oh, it's not very big again, but look what they've done there.
Well, some of these photos were taken digitally back in the 90s, so they didn't have high-res back then. But I'm very thankful that they took the picture, because some of the, in fact, that right there, that actually, they have plastered over... Oh, no, that's not where they plastered over. Below that, they plastered over, and the opposite side of that room, they plastered over the south wall. The south wall of that room, they plastered over other communication.
So what are the lines in it for, then?
Well, that would wear... I was looking for a different picture, but let me get to... If we look at what that looked like before they plastered it over...
What, that's new, is it then?
Below it,
right.
Those lines. Oh, here we go. This is after they plastered it.
Yeah, that's the picture I've got. Here? Yeah.
You see how what I'm pointing out here? You can point out with your mouse.
Yeah.
There's new fill there.
Oh, right.
That V shape was opened, and there was stepping in there. It wasn't cut. If I can find the original picture, I think we're going to find that they were showing you.
It's not for the Roman thing,
pressures.
is it, that they put on houses? They've got to have little arches. No, I'm only joking. Let's not go there. Right.
Okay. They were showing you pressures, and the lines gave you reference points so you can bring it up. Again, it's all communication. And this is, until I can get this room recreated and actually get measurements of pressures and temperatures, I can't prove what that was doing. But when we get measurements of temperatures and pressures within that room, I'm pretty sure that I can retro show you those markings and how they represent those pressures and or temperatures, because this area was communication and they patched it off. It wasn't just a nice clean like V like they had it here. This side was like at a 45-degree angle, and this side was more like at a 30-degree angle. And this side I think was function, this side was communication. And I had somewhere in here an old picture of that before they, again, quote, repaired it. Just like they repaired the picture that I'm going to pull up for you right here, which they now call the Grand Step. That
Okay,
also
where's that one?
had
I've got to go. Oh, is that? All right, I've got that one. Carry on.
Yeah, GTIV. Okay. That one right there, you can see the discoloring up top. That's because, again, they made that a step so that grandma, when she's going up there, didn't take a slide down, because they cared about tourism. They don't care about maintaining history. This was a tomb, so they can do whatever they want. It wasn't a machine, so they don't want to preserve it. You know, I don't think the people, the antiquities people, realize what they have, but I think because of the way that things are worded in history books, I think someone there does, because they try to discourage any other, you know, it's like, there was one guy, he shot from the roof and he just missed Trump. You know, don't worry about other people, don't worry about stand downs, don't worry about why he was allowed to roam around for 20 some minutes, don't worry about any of those other things.
Okay, so where's the crack in the wall then?
I'm still looking for. Well,
I didn't see it myself, but
I know. Again, Google has been nice enough. If I don't babysit them, things disappear, and that looks like one of them. That all right, and or I may have it within. If you see, some of these are PDFs of people's websites, like Ancient Origins, which is somebody else's website. But I grabbed this so I can document where I got. See, I see things like that, and I'm like, there is no evidence of that ever being there. There's no scarring
let me see.
for
I
it.
don't
There's
remember
no
that one.
marking
Hang on.
for it.
Where's that
Right,
one?
no, you're not gonna. It's not a photo. It's within one of the.
Right.
It's within one of the clips of web pages. So I maintain these so I can show where I got pictures. But I may have the crack in the wall picture maintained within one of these sections where I acquired it off of somebody else's website. I don't see it. This is really bothering me because I know I had it. But again, like I was saying, Google likes to sometimes take images and take them off their website.
Yeah, I don't see it.
I don't either. All right, well, let's just hang on.
Talking about a different crack, I thought we were going back to this crack here, which you said is releasing the sectional.
The top side is where it's the anchor for the bubble, the air bubble that eventually bubbles over the air.
We're gonna go somewhere else now because we need to find the other one. 1 second. You're talking about. You saw that one, Angel. Look at that. Anyway, that's that one. But we're trying to find another crack. I don't know where we. I don't know where we go to get it. So.
There are cracks all over the thing. So it is. I'm trying to see if I can't find the southern wall. of the Queen's Chamber, the area that they call the Queen's Chamber.
I mean, there's not actually that many pictures there, to be honest. It starts going off onto, I don't know. Oh, there is quite a few. Maybe I hadn't loaded the page up, but it's not really inside, is it?
Dang it.
Great, this is live research.
Chris Dunn has it on his website. Was it Pyramid Power?
Are we going somewhere else now?
I'm trying to find a copy of the image, since I can't find it on my Google Docs. And I think I stole it off of Chris Dunn's website, so they probably ripped it off there because of, oh, you can't get onto his website anymore without, like, signing up. What the heck? Oh, this is not his website. Or maybe his website isn't his website anymore. All right, let me just try looking for Chris Dunn. 2 N's, I believe. Oh, Giza Power Plant. I was looking at Giza. Where's his website? God dang it. I can't find his, everything is selling his book, selling his book, selling his book. I want his...
Yeah, as you say, they're always changing the search engine, so you can never find what you thought you found years ago. You can't find it anymore. They're good at doing that, covering up the past, changing our history. They're good at that.
When you Google his name, everything is going to Wikipedia. You can't get his website. Oh, man. They make this really...
They make everything difficult because they obviously realise we've woken up and we're finding the truth and they don't want us to know the truth.
GizaPower.com. That's his website. GizaPower.com. Now I'm going to scroll through here real quick to see if I can't find the image. I don't endorse his theory. However, his images are images. And you can't get to him his images anymore. Everything is selling his book. You know what? I think he's gone more for the dollar and less for the research. But I don't...
Oh, so we can't find your crack then?
Not today. I get no crack today.
Well, that's another... So we've got a hangout about him and the crack.
He's a pyramid. South Queen's Chamber. South wall. I'll call it conduit. See what pictures I can get. Gah.
Is it there?
Nope, no. No, I'm looking.
Oh, well, it obviously means something because they've taken it away. Come on.
I know where to find it. You know how you saw in the pictures, Earth Ancient Milk? The guy who took that, James Brown, he has a picture of it within his website, and I have his website captured on my website. So before where you said you saw an Earth Milk thing, it's way up at the top there. Click on that.
Oh, I can't see you at the moment. Hang on, let's open your page up.
Don't worry about seeing me. We're worried about seeing the crack.
Yeah. So where do I go?
It's right here. Here we go. I got it. If you go, there's a beautiful picture.
Is this on your site, by the way?
It is on my site. Go to the photos.
Yeah, we're back on there now.
Way up at the top is a link to a directory. I put his whole website in a directory. See, it says Earth Milk Ancient Energy.
Okay, see if it says the same for me. I've just got to get back there. It's loading up. It doesn't say... Oh, Earth Milk. Yes, there it is.
Click on that.
Click on that.
This is his website. He's taken this website offline. However, if you go down a second row all the way over, there's one image that has the crack in it. And
I might not be able to do it. It says get drive for desktop download.
Just tell them no. View it on the web. I don't know what you can view it.
Oh,
You should be able to view
cut
it
that
through a web
off.
page. You don't need to do anything.
Right, let's go on it again. Ah, it's doing it now. Oh God, it's just so complicated, isn't it? Turned it round to me, but we're just.
And we're looking at images off of his website. I said it was nice enough to throw them. And you want to look at the one 3-8.
Oh, that's one.
I should make
that
mine.
one. That one there. Oh, I see. Wait a minute. Is it this one here? That one there? That one.
3-8.
Well, it's got to be that one. I'm holding the microphone next to the phone because I can actually see Angel. Hello, Angel.
Hello.
Wherever it is. Oh, is it pointing the other way? It's pointing the other way, but I can see it's flipped round. But never mind. Or maybe I wanted it to be like that. Anyway, that's that. So we're just waiting for it to load up. But I'm holding this. See, I've got this in my hand. That's the microphone.
You know, we got to get you a lapel mic. They're really cheap.
On me, you mean? Yeah.
They just clip on your shirt, and you just makes life easier. There you go. Now you see how that one has a crack in it. Now that.
Oh right, there. That's one there. You mean there?
Now that crack is he has the pointers going the wrong way because no he doesn't. That's actually the correct way. All right, because that's the south wall. Now that crack actually went up even further and kind of hooked back, but that right there is what that crack is what led them to there. And you see how it's cut out at an angle? I bet you if you took a yardstick and put it on that edge, it would kind of go into the room at an angle. If you were to draw a parabola, it would probably go right to the glory spot where I told you the drip was coming from. Mm-hmm. And the reason it goes top to bottom is because there are times the reaction is higher, like a Jacob's ladder. It'll be higher in the system, and then it'll work at sometimes it'll be lower in the system.
They were taken in 1978.
That photograph was.
Yeah.
Now, since then, they've plastered it up and painted it over. You can't see that anymore. It doesn't exist.
Oh, right.
That right there, that unexplained thing, I believe, is evidence of the arcing over the course of, hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Now, that crack itself, the way it's pulled out there, I don't think it was actually. There's other photos where it looks more. The best photo is, I believe there's one before they dug through it.
Can I ask you something, Angel? Angel, what's this on here? This kind of writing thing that's going across the top of there. What's that?
That may be graffiti. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, people were in there. You notice there's markings on there. People were chiseling stuff in there. Especially when it has writing. There was no writing in the structure, especially not English.
Right. So there's another crack inside the system.
Right. Now that, I believe, when you look at it before they put the hole in, I think there's at least one picture before they put the hole where it looks just like a black scarring of an electrical arc, which at the time, no one would have recognized that as scarring of an electrical arc because they've never seen it before. They had no idea what electricity was. These guys were using lanterns and didn't even have light bulbs yet. So
see, with you, we could just go on forever, couldn't we? It always leads on to something else.
Yes, I mean, I could talk to you about this for, 12 hours straight, and there'd still be more to talk about, because all the evidence is here. Again, it's either confirmation bias on an overload level, or I'm correct.
Well, I like your version of things, Angel, as I've said. Do you think, just for now, because it's only a pause, isn't it? We've got to come back and do another one anyway. There's always another one to do. Do you think it's a good time to pause?
There's always.
Because it's about 2.5 hours long now.
We can break. And I urge people, ask me questions. If somebody can find me, I know there's a picture of that crack before the hole. Send it to me. I will add it to my list. In fact, what I'm going to do right now is those pictures, I'm going to re-put them back on, well, they are on my website, but they had them individually on my website. And bugs me that Google keeps disappearing stuff.
Yeah, but you know why? Because they've filled them in, and you're not supposed to know they're there in the first place. That's why. Like the room, like one of those pyramids you can go in, and you can see all the water levels, and now they don't let people in there. So you're not supposed to know anything about them, because they'd have done things to them so that you don't know anything about them. They don't fit into the burial chamber, do they?
No, they don't. Those in that room, those water levels, ironically enough, those are going to be at the same. No, they won't. They're not going to be at the same elevation as the Queen's chamber. So don't worry about that. I was going to say the reference of communication. Those are going to be the steps in there. Actually, are going to be at the same level as the water levels within the center and third pyramid. And I'm sure everything has to do with water levels and making sure that the heavy water cannot escape the system. It is to be quarantined within the system. And I think it's a very beautiful system and a very unappreciated system.
But I see most people don't understand how intricate this whole thing is, do they, in the first place?
No, they don't. However, it can be pretty simple. It does start with a really simple principle. The water is brought into the system. It's separated into its respective gases. The lighter of the gases goes brought to the top, rejoined together with ambient air from outside at a higher elevation, at a higher static level elevation, amplified by the fact that the Great Giza Pyramid itself acts as like a Van de Graaff generator. Just like we saw in that video we started with, the inside had of capacity, a finite amount of capacity. But that one conduit that doesn't break the surface is the conduit to bring the static electricity into the inside, where it's forced onto the surface of the water just by the fact it's there. Those water molecules precipitate down into the system, bringing all the static electricity down, whereas as they cool and coagulate, the surface area is lessened because the water turns into bubbles. The static electricity is then amplified, and then eventually something has to happen. I think that something that has to happen is one of the magical things within the system. But no matter what, as the system is functioning, the basement is doing magic there with that little pressure bubble thing that we were talking about. You're looking at right now on your screen. And then amplified on top of that.
There you are.
And then amplified on top of that, the fact that the more you do electrolysis, the more heavy water is present, because the light water breaks, the heavy water remains. So you're enriching the water to have more and more heavy water, and the fact you bring it up and scoop it down, kind of like how you drop coins down a little thing and they fall into the right spot.
Would they have used that water to make the colloidal silver?
Well, I mean, I don't think that there's any silver or gold or any of those special things.
No, I mean, did they use the water for colloidal silver?
What?
No. Okay, let's not talk about it. Let's not go off track.
I don't think this in any way had anything to do with colloidal silver. The structure here, what they did with the water,
you don't know.
And they're making heavy water anyway. I don't know if heavy water and colloidal silver have any super special properties. For all I know, they may, but I don't know. That would be a big speculation. Later time down the road, maybe, but right now I'm only focusing on the system and what nature would do. But no matter what, as you're doing like a Pachinko ball game where you put the thing at the top and it ding, 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 down, and it goes where to fall, they're forcing it to fall. The heavy water goes down the system and falls and works its way into the Queen's chamber. The light water goes down the system and goes down and recycles and does it again. And the oxygen is vented off and then brought back in at the top. And that's the way the Great Giza Pyramid works. The rest of them work in concert with all of that, because as that's working, they're playing with the pressures of the water within the system to maintain and quarantine and work with the heavy water within the other systems, because once they have that heavy water, what do they do with it? That's where they have to have the control valve of the water's outside and that little one room they were talking about. That maintains that heavy water can't exit the system. It's all controlled at that one level. That's the sweet spot of where they're working and what they're doing. Now, the third pyramid can go deeper because it's controlled. So once you got the top valve and the bottom valve, it can go deeper into the system because that's the capacitor. That's where it's stored. So that's and harvested from, I believe. But again, until I get a functioning model where you can see the water flow and put little, color dyes in there so you can see the water flowing through the system. Because some people can't see it. I can show people. I have pictures. I'm going to find it on my phone of a water, just a water fountain that's turned off, and some people can't visualize how the water will down the waterfall without the water being there. And I'm like, how can't you just mentally, visually see that? And some people can't. I don't have an answer for you. It scares me, but some people can't. Talk for a while while I find something to show you that you can.
Well, we're still looking at your little diagram here. Even it's brilliant. That should really shock people. That should, about what was really inside it and what was probably happening. And once you realise it looks more like that, and it should change your perception of what you think the pyramids are.
It should.
Like it did with you.
Well, if we're still recording, I started on the rabbit hole of Chris Dunn and John Cadman. But some of the things that John Cadman said didn't hold water, and I like to use that.
That's very funny when we're looking at this.
And he wanted parts to be there that aren't there. He said moving sliding rock and the dead end shaft. And then I saw the video, which you can get to at GoPro 2015 2015. That was the year it was recorded. GoPro 2015.greatgizapyramid.com is like a 90-minute GoPro of a guy crawling through the Great Giza Pyramid, which I think anyone should watch. You can turn down the volume, but just watch it. Pretend you're there, exploring it. You will see things that later will make sense, but that you probably never saw or recognized. And things like that let you put eyes on it. Of course, the Giza people hate it because you didn't have to pay to see it, but I'm more for, did you know that you're now allowed to bring cameras to the Great Giza Pyramid?
Yeah, I heard that. I think we talked about that. They just lifted it a few months ago. That's because they finished filling everything in that they need to fill in so that you don't know what it is.
Well, that and so many people have cameras and stuff like that. It was becoming, what are you going to do, arrest everyone that brings stuff in? I think they got to the point where they get, and they hope it'll still promote tourism. People will still want to come and see it. I still want to come and see it, even if there are pictures, but they can't really fight it. How can you tell people not to bring their phone that they live on and leave it on a bus? And then how can you stop them from taking pictures while they have their phone? I mean, it's just it's. But,
well, they must have realised now, with the amount of videos that have gone on YouTube, that nobody listens to them anyway.
But I would like to. Somebody who's going there, I'll give them my Rilo. I want to, or loan them. I don't want to give it away, but so they can take 3D image of it, so you can actually look up in the side. I would like to compare things. I really want to get a better. I want to be there, and I can't afford to go there. So I will gladly live vicariously through somebody else's digital life.
Angel, we're going to pause now because I know that you could go on for 12 hours, but I've got some things I need to do. But we've probably done getting on for 2.5, maybe getting on for 3 hours, because you can't stop talking about the pyramid. But I find it fascinating. I love it all, and I just think that when people look at this video of this water thing, have you ever thought that that would be in the pyramid? No, probably not. But thank you, Angel.
Well, no problem. You have a great day. GreatGizaPyramid.com. You can find everything there.
Yeah, but this is only a pause because we're going to do. Was it not Chris Dunn? We're going to do the other one.
Jeffrey.
Yes, we're going to do him.
Jeffrey
Yes,
Brum.
yes. Anyway, for this hangout, just we'll talk afterwards. But for this hangout, thank you very much for watching. Angel is a clever professor as well, aren't you? You just are. Come on, Angel. Yeah, you should be with those blokes that we saw at the beginning at the university.
I'd love to. I used to. I guess I've been an engineer at heart forever.
Yes, you have. But anyway, for this hangout, we're just playing a pause, and we will be back. But thank you, Angel. Thank you so much. Thank you, chat room. Thank you, Angel.